I'm glad you have energy, not I don't.
I have energy. I don't know how. I got 3 hours of sleep last night.
Well, sometimes that's when you have the most.
I am in a nebulous void of chaos. CSU.
I just being strange and everything.
Wow, I can't type on here. That's fun. I'm just checking, make sure it's set. Live stream is up. It is up, so that's good.
Ready to rock and roll, folks?
Yeah. There's something else happening.
Hey, Kim. I need your help. So, one of the new shows that we're supposed to see tonight, it was,
If somebody else
Can't you export it to like Google? Yeah. I think you're.
But let me try to see if I can make that easy for you.
Yeah. We could, yeah.
either way, we'll get this.
Or you could add, it's Reham's bill. You could ask Reham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, we're good?
Yep.
Cool. Hello, everyone. It is my pleasure to call the 22nd session of the 52nd Senate to order. Today is March 8th, 2023. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and join me if you're willing and able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now move into the CSU land acknowledgement. Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other native tribes. We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and significantly, that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose land this university was built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. We'll now swear in new senators and associate senators. So if that's you, please come to the front and we will swear you in. Seeing none, we will move into beginning roll call. The clerk will call the roll.
Nick DeSalvo,
Here.
Kimberly Carcedo, present. Officer Bakari, Parliamentarian Clark,
Present.
Chair Aslan, here. Chair Ritter, present. Chair Salazar,
Here.
Chair Schumer is gone. Chair Trout,
Present.
Senator Abu Dhabi, here. Senator Arango Siwa, present. Senator Athey, here. Senator Ayala, here. Senator Bushara, here. Senator Dietz,
Here.
Senator Denson,
On Zoom. But
Senator Doyle,
Here.
Senator Godshaw,
Here.
Senator Hill,
Here.
Senator Johnson, here. Senator Johnson,
Here.
Senator Kelly,
Here.
Senator Kilburn,
Senator Kramer,
Here.
Senator Laffey,
Present.
Senator Laffey, present. Senator Levy here. Senator Lowe here. Senator Lutz
Here.
Senator McCall here. Senator Melchior. Senator Morgan.
Here.
Senator Melka.
Here.
Senator Nyembe.
Here.
Senator Pareso. Senator Reed. Senator Reese.
Here.
Senator Schmidt.
Here.
Senator Shetty.
Here.
Senator Sodi.
Present.
Senator Barron. Senator Taylor.
Here.
Senator Winston.
Present.
Senator Wright. Here. Senator Barron. Associate Barbone.
Present.
Associate Barnett. Associate Barton. Associate Chacon. Associate Ducati. Associate Ford.
Here.
Associate Jacobs. Associate Kelly. Here. Associate Kimberling.
Here.
Associate Manati.
Here.
Associate Perk. Associate Scott Perez. Associate Simpson.
Present.
Associate Sisjan. I'm sorry. You're good. Here. Associate Zhao.
Senate. Was everyone called?
Associate Tor Stocksy, present.
All right, before we continue, I assume that there will be a lot of gallery input tonight, so I would entertain a motion to put that after judicial reports. Senator Hill.
Mr. Speaker, I motion to put gallery input. I'm motion to put guest speaker for Collins and Mayor Jenny Arndt before gallery input.
Is there
With unanimous consent.
any dissent to that motion? Okay, so we'll do this by placard vote. The reason I'm proposing this is because I want to be respectful of the mayor's time, and gallery input will take the entire 30 minutes. And I do not want to keep her here when she has already volunteered her time to be here. So that's the reasoning behind it. So a motion was made. Would you like to amend it to not be unanimous consent?
Well, I give this dissent. So yeah, we'll do placard vote.
Okay. So, and there is a second for that, correct? Okay. All those in favor, raise your placards.
Oh, then 24 with. Where are you getting?
23,
And then, so,
24.
24, 24.
okay, go ahead and put them down. All those opposed?
4, 6, 7, 7.
7.
Abstentions?
2, 4, 6, 8. Where are you getting mine?
How many? You got 8. Okay.
Plus 1.
I know the
Nine.
little large colors.
A vote of 24 to 7 to 9, this motion passes, and that change will be reflected in the agenda. We'll now move into, yes, Senator Ayala.
I motion to put the funding of the Lavender Cabinet Bill at the top of confidence business due to having guest speakers, like due to having people in the crowd that want to speak on the bill and respecting their time as well.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your placards. I got 34,
Something like that.
10, 12,
Plus 1.
14, 16,
35.
22,
And then there was one on Zoom that made 35. Okay. All those opposed? Abstentions?
6.
Okay, so by a vote of 35 to 0 to 6, this motion also passes. That change will be reflected. And then Speaker Pro Tempore.
For a similar circumstance, I motion to put Bill 5213 second after the funding of the Lavender Cabinet.
Okay, is there a second?
Seconded.
All those in favor, raise your placards. Okay, all those opposed? Abstention? By a vote of 32 to 0 to 0, this motion also passes. That change will be reflected.
Point of information. So we are doing ratification first and then old business. That's still what those changes were reflecting. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that was clear because like they said, top of confidence business, but
I had said underneath the Lavender Cabinet, which I believe was kept still in old
okay,
business.
I just wanted to make sure. Unless that
I
was-
don't think that's the change.
I technically did say top of confidence business, but I am okay with keeping the bill in old business.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was clear and understood by all.
All right, and consent agenda, is there any dissent? Seeing none, this is something that we are very privileged to be able to have with us today, especially on International Women's Day. We have the mayor of Fort Collins with us, Jenny Arndt. Just a little background on her. She has quite the diverse professional background. She served in the Peace Corps. She was a special education teacher and even a middle school principal. I don't know about the rest of you, but I was a menace in middle school. Still am. But if anyone doubts the fortitude that Mayor Arndt has, that expels all of those concerns. Some of her political background in 2014, she was first elected as a state rep for House District 53 by a 20% margin. And over the years, she either ran unopposed or won by large margins. In 2020, she won re-election by over 50%. And in 2021, Jenny decided to run for mayor of Fort Collins. In a field of 3 candidates, she emerged with over 62% of the vote. Jenny Arndt is wildly popular, not only in the city of Fort Collins, but the state of Colorado at large, and even recognized internationally, as I've heard earlier today. And so if you don't know why she is so well respected, you'll find out after tonight. And so without further ado, please help me welcome Fort Collins Mayor Jenny Arndt. I have a timer. That's what it is.
Oh, great, thanks. Thank you very much. Thanks. That was the best introduction I've ever had, actually. Because very small on the personal, but I'll answer any question that you may have.
Point of order, just real quick before you keep going. That is our online part of our Senate, so don't block them, so then let them be able to
Stay
see you
here?
too. Yeah, because that's a camera that's
Right.
recording.
Is this better? Okay,
Yes,
thank you for the guidance. Middle school principal was my favorite job I ever had in my life. And the funny thing is my 2 of my 3 kids were in my school. And I asked them before I became middle school principal, I said, I won't even go for this job if you don't want me to do that. And they're like, no, yeah, we'll do that. They were like, we'll do that. And then we had like new kids would come in, and there was one kid was like, oh, I got in so much trouble when I was in middle school. And my daughter's like, you'll never get in trouble here. Just like, trust me. And she kept saying that, and the kid was like, why, how do you know that? She's like, my mom's a principal. She never gets anybody in trouble. You might get to spend a day with her. My in-school suspension was, you're coming with me, guys. Yep. I never put anybody out of school because my goal was to keep people in school. And then the day that we spent together actually was just like a nice day, right? And so we would do all this stuff. But anyway, thanks for the middle school comment. I fully expect everyone to have had a disruptive middle school experience. And if you didn't, there's something wrong with you. Anyway, I also want to start by saying, was it Kyle that you made the motion to take the vote? Thank you. And then you said, no, yeah, we're not going to go back and we're going to take this vote. That's really important. And here's why. Because you, pardon me? Oh, did you see? Okay. It's really important. Never give away your vote, right? Even, and I respect that your ask, Nick, is to say, hey, should we just move that, through? No, we want to vote. Don't ever lose your voice. Okay. So now you're all elected. So that's one thing. So I was really thrilled to hear that, right? So anyway, I am Jenny. I grew up in Fort Collins. I live right over there, all that other stuff. And I'll answer any question about that. I'm going to be really brief in my comments because I want to hear what you want to know or you want to ask, right? I could talk for 2 hours about things that I think you might want to know or that I want to say, but that's not important. So I will start by saying we need your voice at City Hall. Today's Wednesday. Last night, we had 85 people come to City Council. We got out at 1:15 because public comment went for 3 hours. It was the most energizing City Council meeting I've been to in 2 years, or I presided over, right? It was the youngest audience we've ever had. Okay, so average age was just brought way down because people came because they want a bike park out at Hughes. Now, whether you want a bike park out at Hughes or you don't, or you think it should be natural areas or walking or whatever trail, that's fine. But the point is that it was so energizing to have an array of people come and not sort of the same people telling us the same things. And the voice, I just came from the International Women's Day, the speaker, Reverend Tutu, talked about this. The voice of privilege, right? The people who have the time and the energy and they're retired. And I'm not busting on people who are older. I'm just saying that if we only hear one voice, we don't get to hear you. So I just want to reiterate how important that is, how much we value that is. So never give away your voice on the council or the Senate, and never give away your voice at the ballot. So I have some other ideas and things that I might want to talk about, but when you come, I think you're organizing to come on April 18th. So because of that experience last night, and then we take a break, I took a break in the middle because it was a 3-hour public comment, and that's a lot of time to stand there and say, thank you, next 3 minutes, right? I came back out. everyone's talking to each other. So people who are advocating for the bike park, people advocating for natural areas, people advocating for oil and gas regulations, people, they're all talking to each other, right? I was like, okay, we're gonna start a meeting. And I was like, why would I start the meeting when the entire point of a city is to get people together and have a talk? So I just kind of sat there and watched it. Now, at some point, we have to get back to our business. But it was so energizing, right? So what I'm thinking is like, how do we mimic that? Not mimic it, but how do we allow for that in not just a 15-minute break? So what I was just noodling on today and thinking about, and I talked to Ali about this, what if we just said, if you want to come to talk to city council, it starts at 6, but why wouldn't you come at 5? And why wouldn't the council be out in the foyer just talking to you? You just talk to us. Because when we're up here like this, there's not a two-way communication, there's a one-way. And that's frustrating for us, right? Because I want to talk to people and get their, go back and forth. And it makes it look like the government is above people, which I like this setting, right? At the city council, it's the opposite, which if I were designing things, I would flip that. But I don't have the power, probably don't want to spend the money to do all that. But the point is, maybe April 18th is the first time we start the sort of 5 o'clock come, and we'll have like, I don't know, I'm just making this up today, just chips and salsa or something to like gather around, and then have all the council, like instead of going back into our chambers and eating dinner by ourselves, boring, for me too, we come out and just talk to people. So anyway, if you decide to come to council on April 18th, and I'm going to talk to the other counselors, and I'll contact you back and tell you if we can do this, or if we're going to do it, come at 5 and hang out and talk, right? And then whatever you're going to talk about, maybe you'll meet some people who feel differently, or maybe you'll meet some people who also feel the same way. So that's just something that's just top of mind right now, tonight. And then honestly, however much time we have left, I yield to you. What would you like to know or ask or think about or want?
All right, we'll do a Q&A starting with the first raised placard.
Don't be shy. Ask your children.
Senator D.
Whatever.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say lovely to kind of meet you, and thank you so much for coming in tonight. I think I'll start the ball rolling, maybe with asking the elephant in the room, probably what's on everybody's minds as a college student, U+2. Yeah, you said it for me. Yeah, so just updates on the council's thoughts on that. If you're willing, your thoughts on that, and
Okay.
I'll yield to you for that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's another reason why we need all your voices, right? Because, there's two things wrong. There's a lot, I think, wrong with U+2. One, it restricts housing, restricts occupancy, it restricts availability. Only in America do we have the wealth and the privilege and the luxury to say, oh, you know what? You can only live with 2. I don't know of any other country that does that. That's just ridiculous. My husband and I have 3 adult children. We have a 5-bedroom house. Why can't I have 3 people living there with me for free? And I don't need to rent them, right? So having said that, that's my personal viewpoint. Politically, we're talking about rental registration and some other things. So we're thinking about tying U+2, like occupancy. I don't even like the word U+2 because, that has a federal, or not a federal, that has a government definition of the family, which I think when I came earlier, it creeps me out. Like, why is the government ever going to get in the business of who I think is my family? It makes me crazy because for all the reasons you probably already know well before me. Like, I don't want the government ever defining who my family is. I want people using that term with who they love. And I like, honestly, it just makes me crazy. So let's start there. So the whole premise of U+2, I'm not going to use those words. I'm going to use occupancy, right? So let's get rid of the idea that the government tells you what a family is, or tells me what a family is. Done. And thank you. And then let's talk about how big the home is and the occupancy. Then there's some real issues in terms of, we just did a public nuisance ordinance. So some people, when they hide behind occupancy limits by saying, oh, well, they don't shovel the sidewalk, and they don't all these public nuisance things. That's a real concern for everyone. Right? You don't want to live next to the disruptive neighbor, right? You know, nobody does. You guys don't, we don't, nobody does. Okay, so now we have a new public nuisance ordinance about that, right? So if someone's really doing that, we have a tool for that. Okay, so let's take that out of the mix. Then let's talk about how big a residence is and how many people can live there. So how do you define that? I don't know. Is it one person per bedroom? I don't know. Okay. So those are all the things that we're talking and thinking about. Because I want to allay the fears of people who say, oh, well, you know, if we take down the occupancy limits now, we will have disruptive neighborhoods. So I don't think anybody wants a disruptive neighborhood, right? There's two things. So we could do it through ordinance and you could do it through referred measure. And you guys are all in politics, so you know what I'm saying, right? That's what we're trying to decide now. And maybe you can help us decide that. And maybe if you come on April 18th, you can voice your opinion, right? Would you like us to try to take a stab through the council at changing occupancy limits? Or are you energized and motivated to, if we referred it to the ballot, to be activated to help get out the vote? That's a long answer, I'm sorry, but I had to give all those nuances.
It was a great answer, yeah. And I would say the last part of my question is, you know, we've heard from our director of governmental policy here, but in your opinion, what can we do as students, the physical actions to change U+2?
Sure, if you come on April 18th and tell us what you think, right? We're seriously considering referring it. You can also do a petition drive and get the signatures. And I understand how that's a heavy lift for students who may not be here in the summer, right? It's also a really good education campaign when you get the signatures to see what the you know, the willingness is. I also talked to one of our neighbors the other night at a dinner, and he's my age, I'm 58, and I was like, Ernie, what about this? What if we put that on the ballot? And he's like, I think it passed. Ernie's not your average, like, liberal activist. Let me put it that way. He's like, this is a stupid rule, and it's artificially restricting our housing supply. Go, Ernie. Right?
I agree, go Ernie. Yeah, well, thank you so much.
So I'm like, well, when I hear that from a wider, you know, right?
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And that, I think, definitely answers my questions. And I'll yield to the next person.
Okay.
Thank you, Senator Love.
Hi. First, I just wanted to say thank you for your work as a middle school principal. I have been in educator preparation, and we all joke that middle school teachers and principals are like God among men. I want to teach high school and adult learners. So, but my question is kind of related to that. So recently, the Colorado Teachers Union has put out a really big report on what the lives of LGBTQ+ teachers are in the state of Colorado. And I recognizing that, you know, like policy to help education comes from multiple fronts, like the school board and really everyone. And so I was just wondering if the city council is planning to kind of do anything to help support teachers in line with that report. It showed that most teachers, I think over 70% of teachers don't feel safe to come out at work, despite all of Colorado's laws that like are meant to protect us in the classroom. Like there are people who don't feel comfortable even telling their principal, like, I'm queer, I'm trans especially. And so I was just wondering like if city council has any plans to like help make Poudre School District feel a little bit more warm and welcoming to teachers like me.
And I just feel horrible that that's still the experience, because 20 years ago that was the experience, and I was thinking that it would be different now. Fort Collins just did an ordinance to change our charter to be fully inclusive language. And I was proud to be the council that did that 7-0, and I was also ashamed that it took till 2023, right? I mean, it's just remarkable to me. So what I could say to you about that is, so we did that fully inclusive language. Okay, so I'm a politician. I run for office. So I help a lot of school board. I think every single person on the school board I help run and win. So when we get involved in political processes, we get, because we work on these things, right? We can call them and ask them and tell them, and you can really influence that. And then my friend Christoph Fev was the chair of the school board, and he hired Brian, the new superintendent. And I believe that Brian is fully in line with these values. And I think that's really a long-winded way to say that's kind of how things get done over time. And if you'd like to have a meeting with Brian, I bet he would take one, right? And then also jumping in on campaigns to help school board members, and also just to like, really honestly, it sounds so trite, like your voice matters, and people go, oh yeah, well, it really doesn't. Yeah, it really does. I made a law because Rocky Mountain High School junior wrote to me and said, hey, I'm gonna be a senior, I'm gonna be 18 in the general election. Why can't I vote in the primaries? Oh, that's a good question. We changed the law. It's not that hard to change the law. And it's not that hard to jump in and help a candidate who shares your values win, right? The bad news is that not that many people are involved. The good news is if you get involved, you have a big voice. So keep at it, and then contact people like me, invite me to speak. And I'll just say, hey, Brian, you need to meet this person. They're an aspiring teacher. We need teachers. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just feel your power is my point, I think, overall.
And sorry, I've heard multiple dates as far as like when we're going to city council. I was just informed by Director Garcia, it's April 4th.
That's fine.
April 4th. So just getting that out there. Our next speaker is Speaker Pro Tempore Cadastro Perez.
Hi, Mayor. It's good to have you back. It's good to see you again. So looking at the demographics of CSU, and obviously not all demographics can be represented, how can students that are minoritized actively get involved in government and be in positions that directly, or not even positions, get to meet individuals that have experience dealing with progressive movements in the BIPOC community? How and what has Fort Collins done and will continue to do?
Sure. So I just was with BIPOC yesterday. So Claudia Menendez at our city, who was here at the International Women's Day, you write to her and just join the group and then be part of the group. And then BIPOC's like, I can't believe you came to talk to us. I was like, I can't believe you never invited me before. Like, I just go like where, like it's more accessible than you would imagine. And invite people, reach out. There's nothing that people who have made a commitment to community service, not a career, but a commitment, and it doesn't mean you're elected, it means it can be all shapes and forms. There's nothing they like better than responding to requests from people who ask them to come and talk, or to write to Claudia or me and say, hey, how do I get involved in this? And then we say, yes. The entire point of democracy is maximum involvement. So it's the ultimately inclusive area to be involved in. Just right. I mean, just like I'm like tell people, call me. They're like, are you kidding me? I'm like, yeah, I'm just a person. Call me, text me. I'll give you my cell phone number when I leave, and you just text me. It's so much easier than you think it is.
Thank you, Mayor. And with that, I yield.
Oh. I mean that. Like, even if you write to Joe Magoo's, our congressman, He'll be like, oh, this is so exciting. I can't wait to come. I promise you, he'll come. He was president of CU. Did you know that? Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Congressman DeGoose is coming later on in the semester,
I
so
know.
that'll be very
See,
interesting.
That's my example.
Speaker DeSalvo.
Thank you. So you served in the state legislature for quite some time, and I've often heard you tell stories about your colleagues and who you would sit next to. And even though folks had different letters next to their names or used the voting machine in a different way, you said that that never impacted how you interacted with them or your friendship. And so my question is, what advice would you give to folks in this chamber on disagreeing respectfully and building those relationships with one another who disagree with each other?
Sure. I think it's about humanizing people and not demonizing them, right? So the speaker tonight said, everyone has their story, right? So I even wrote down a quote she said, and I love it. Sorry. She said, let me know your story through your voice. So I became the chair of the agriculture committee. I don't really look like that. I couldn't even grow zucchini. But I'm interested in including everyone, right? So I was a special ed teacher and all those other things, right? Peace Corps. So after my freshman year, I went to every single person on the ag committee's district, Republicans, Democrats. And I wanted to see the world through their eyes. So I knew when they were voting, didn't change my vote, changed some things, but why they were doing that, like walk a mile in their shoes, right? Understand why they're saying they're so in favor of guns rights, why they're so, some of these things. And then you humanize them, and then you have dinner with them, and they have great kids, and they're taking care of their mom, and you realize a shared humanity, and it breaks down their barriers too. And I would just say, never demonize, always humanize people, right? And we're not always right. We have our own viewpoint, but somebody else has grown up. They grew up too. They just grew up where they were born as well, right? Right. So I just think if you go in with that attitude, and then I also would say this whole idea that there's only two of everything. There's a Democrat and Republican. That's just kind of a bill of goods that we've been sold, that there's just two. Almost every other country in the world has a lot of different parties. In America, we have two. Like, that's impossible, right? It's just not even like a real thing, right? So most of the bills that come out of legislature are bipartisan, and we all vote together about 90% of the time. And then there's about 10% of the bills that are sort of value driven or whatever. But when I ran the bill to end the death penalty, which was a big bill, it kept failing. And then the Democrats got the House and the Senate, and it failed again because they ran 4 Democrats on the bill. And I was like, it's going to fail. And they said, why? I go, because this isn't a completely partisan issue. There's a lot of Democrats who still want the death penalty. We're never going to be successful unless we get a bipartisan coalition here, even though we have the House, the Senate, and the governorship. And everyone thought I was crazy. And I was like, I can count. I felt like Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, well, I can count. So I had lunch that summer with my friend Jack Tate, who is a Republican senator. I call him a creepy country club cufflink wearing senator, which he was. He is still. He's like, yeah, well, you're just a short Peace Corps loving liberal from Fort Collins. I'm like, yes, I am. And we're friends. And I said, and he's also Catholic. And I said, Jack, do you think you can vote for the death penalty repeal this year? He goes, no, I think I'll just do it with you. And I go, if you and I do the bill together, Republican senator, Democrat in the House, I go, it's going to pass because I can count. And he goes, I know, I want it to pass. That's how that bill got passed. Governor Polis signed it, And he, the 4 people who are on death row, he commuted their sentences from death to life in prison. Done. Wouldn't have happened without Jack, even in a democratically controlled House and Senate. And I love that story because people weren't believing me. Like, even when you are in the majority, you never underestimate or devalue the minority opinion, because you'll have more in common. Somebody else raised their placard.
Oh, okay. Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you so much, Mayor Arndt, for coming. This was lovely to meet you. I think my question is going back to a little bit in the housing realm. I've worked around Fort Collins and some homeless shelters and like food, cooking food and whatnot at different churches and whatever. How are we tackling homelessness in the city of Fort Collins and having houses become more affordable for all?
That was part of the land use code reform that got repealed. Yeah, are you aware of that? What happened there? Oh, well, we need you people on. We need to hear your voice, even if it's not the same. I don't care what your opinion is. We need your opinion. So on November 1, we passed land code reform that allowed for auxiliary dwelling units, so a carriage house, or you could redo your basement, right? Because right now, a lot of times that's illegal. Make that legal. Take away single family zoning housing, which is controversial to people who live in single family homes, I guess. And that, I'll talk about that in a minute. It incentivized density near transit, so we can move closer to our climate goals, get more transit. And it also incentivized affordability by saying if a developer was going to build a triplex, we would let them put one more unit on if they guaranteed it would be affordable for 99 years. So 2 points I make. One, affordability is a price. It's not a house. If you can afford it, it's affordable. If you can afford a $1.2 million house, that's affordable. So let's just get that in our minds separate. Affordability with a capital A is a federal subsidy that reduces the market rate of rent to a price of 30% or 80% of average median income. That's the capital A affordability. So when we do a land use code, we don't set market price. What we do is reduce barriers to building more housing, increase the possibility of building a variety of housing types, and incentivize affordability, okay? We did that on November 1st. People got mad, they got frustrated, and they forced a repeal of it on January 17th. Okay. This is the same group that's gonna fight against removing the occupancy restrictions. Okay. So that's what, now we're back at the drawing board, right? So we're going to have a bunch of public meetings this spring to see what we're going to do about the land use code. And then there's a possibility of also addressing the occupancy ordinance. So I'm kind of getting in the weeds, but I think that answers your question a little bit. Yeah. And that's why we need people who want to live here. The PhD graduate students came and talked for the land use code. And there were, anyway, I don't want to be a name caller or categorize people, but there's a very strong entrenched interest group that wants to keep single family housing the way it is. Single family housing, this is true, after redlining, right? So designing housing codes based on race, right, to exclude people of racial diversity. When that became politically and illegal, the response was to make this single family housing zoning, right? Oh, okay, we're not prejudiced. We're not against people different from us. What we're gonna do is say you can only have one house on one plot of land. That's the proxy, right? And if you take a redlining map and you lay it over single family housing zoning, they match up. So I'm want to get rid of single family housing zoning. That doesn't mean you can't have a family house. You can. It's just that if you don't want to and you have a plot of land, you can also build a duplex, a townhouse, a triplex, right? So these are some of the things that are happening right now in Fort Collins, and we need your voice. Whatever it is, I'm not telling you what to think or how to vote or whatever. I just want to hear your voice. Yeah. I have 3 kids, 29, 27, 25, and they also guide me in these things. Sorry, I get a little bit excited about this issue. This is just patently unfair. It blocks people out. It is people who say not one more person in Fort Collins. It is people who say, I moved here in 1980, whatever, and I don't want to single another person here. And they also say, why is ASCSU keep growing? Why are we adding students? I lose my patience. Sorry.
You want to yield?
Senator Malcolm.
Hi there. Thank you for coming to speak with us. I have one question tonight, and I thought it'd be awesome to ask you, just because I plan on getting in politics in the near future. And that is, what are some skills you believe people like me who are just starting out would need to be successful in a political role?
You have to like people. Every single one of them. So the last 2 years at the House, I sat on the Republican side. I'm a Democrat. They invited me. They're like, hey, there's an empty seat over here. And I'm like, oh, so what? I'm like, get over here. And I was like, you know what? That's interesting. I know what I think. I know what over here thinks. So I just picked up my stuff and walked over and sat down. And they were like, you can't do that. And I'm like, I'm not moving. And the Republicans give me a standing O. And I was like, yeah, well, if any of you think I'm going to vote with you, you know, so we start shouting into chair and chat. They're like, shut up, Art, sit down. I'm like, anyway, you know, it's fun, right? So I sat there for 2 years, which I love, right? Because I'm a better legislator when I hear a difference of viewpoints, right? Plus, it's just a better life. You make more friends. It's just like you double your friends, right? And it's more fun, honestly, seriously. So I would say make sure that you really love people, even when they say things that you feel like, oh my word, like, wow, how did that? Richard Holtorf, Eastern Colorado, you know him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right? Eastern Colorado legislature, right? I got it, yeah. Holtorf is like amazingly, unbelievably unacceptable.
Oh. I thought you were gonna say amazing.
No, amazingly unacceptable. Yes. However, when you go out for dinner with Richard Holtorf, which I had, you find out his mom ran away from Brush, Colorado, moved to Spain, married a guy. His first language is Spanish. He went to an Ivy League MBA. Not kidding. She got done dirty in Spain, took her 3 kids, moved back to Eastern Colorado, married Papa Holter, whatever. They have the craziest like story ever. And I'm listening to him going, and then he just breaks into fluent Spanish. Richard Holter. I know. I know. Speak to it. I mean, and you're like, and then how come you're so, I used to tease him like, then how come you're so wrong? But you get to try to understand. And the best thing about politics is you don't have to agree and you never have to vote the same way. No one took your voice, but it doesn't hurt to share it. So I would say, you never know. Scratch the surface. And then I saw him 2 weeks ago down at Boots and Business at the Western Stock Show, maybe a month ago. Jenny runs up, picks me up. He's like 6'4", my feet are dangling. Mayor, I'm like, put me down. Like big, huge hug. And I'm like, Richard, whatever, vote with them. Do I agree with them? Not a bit. Is it a more fulfilling life and interesting? And you also can learn something. Yeah, just love people. But you don't have to vote with them.
Thank you so much. Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Senator Wright.
Hi, thank you so much for coming. I know that it's a very busy schedule, so it means a lot to all of us that you're here. I had something a little bit unrelated to politics. How do you balance everything? Just as a very busy college student, I know it's an incredibly different life, but just in general, how do you keep yourself sane? How do you balance family, work, social life, hobbies, all of that?
That's a great question. My husband lives and works in Washington, D.C., and then he comes home for a week and then he leaves for a week. And, you know, I went to Japan last week to represent the Fort Collins on some things, and then came back, and then, you know, you don't have a minute for jet lag, and then council went to 1:15 last night, and then I got up this morning, goes, you gotta be kidding me, you don't have another meeting this morning. Oh, yeah, I do. He didn't really, because he's gone so much, he didn't really know. He's like, when are you coming home tonight? I'm like, I don't know, 7:38. He's like, you're in 12 hours again? Oh, yeah. It is a question, and it's a good one, because that is something, when you ask that, a whole bunch of your colleagues are, it's a real thing for all of us. I'm not just saying all of us, right? You guys are doing this thing. And I don't do it perfectly. I don't do it that well. I would say I have a rule of any of my family member calls, whatever I'm doing, like if one of my kids called right now, I'd say, just a minute, I need to just at least see, you know, always take the call from your family. Always prioritize, put a really high priority on friends. I guess yourself is somewhere in the mix there. That's the part we're not always so good at, including myself. And then enjoy what you're doing. Live in the moment, right? I try to put down my phone. Like, if you're here, don't be somewhere else. And then make sure, honestly, you have some fun, right? Things are fun and funny. Like city council, it's hilarious. One lady calls in, she's like, can you hear me? Can you hear me? She's doing remote. And then her husband's in the background going, honey, you need to adjust your microphone. And she's like, can you hear me? I'm like, yeah, and we can hear your husband too. Like, everyone started laughing. It's okay to be lighthearted and not make fun, you know, but enjoy yourself and invite people to enjoy their moment as well. And then don't give up the fight on the balance. I lose the battle a lot, so I'm not a good role model on that, but you reminded me too. Yeah. And just pull your friends in close. I have like 5 really, really good friends.
Thank you. That's an awesome answer. I totally appreciate it. Thank you. I yield.
Chair Trout, and I do want to let the body know that we have about 7 minutes left.
Awesome. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hello, hello. I have a couple of questions for you. We have our own elections coming up for student body, president, vice president, speaker of the Senate, coming up within the next month or so. It's like spring breaks next week, and then, you know, those candidates hit the ground running. I know for a lot of folks that it will be their first election that they will be like actively campaigning for. So with as many years of campaigning as you have, what would be some of your best advice for folks to have the most effective and clean running campaigns?
Oh, that's a great question. I guess sit down and have a conversation with yourself about what your values are and what goes back to people, like what you think of people. I just fundamentally trust people. So I never ask for someone's vote. I never have. And I don't ask for money either. If people believe in you and they want you to represent them, they will vote for you and they will donate I never say to me, but to the campaign so you can get your word out. The only reason why you raise money is to reach more people. That's the only reason. People in politics always mistake money for like the best metric. The best metric, first of all, is your vote count. Right? There's only one number I care about in politics, right? And when you keep your eyes on the sort of the values that you have, and you can communicate them clearly to the people, not just the people who are voting for you, and not the people who might vote for you, the people who won't vote for you, and the people who won't vote. It's all the same because you're running to represent everybody. People say, oh, I didn't vote for you. You're not my mayor. I've had that. I'm like, sorry, that's not the system. I am your mayor. You may not have voted for me. That doesn't matter. How can I help you? You may not have even voted. People say, oh, people who don't vote don't get a say. No, they do. That's the system. So I would say just sit yourself down, anchor yourself, and then lead your campaign in the way you want to communicate that person to the people. All an election is a time for you to communicate that and see if people would like you to serve them. That's it. It's not any harder or easier than that. It turns out it's quite hard, but that also takes the sort of fear away from it. Like, oh, I just need to be myself and then see if that's the person people want to serve them. That's the question. And then you have a sort of a North Star when you're going into any sort of weird campaign decisions, because there's people who will try to sway you and manipulate you and blah, 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 blah. I don't use war words. I just decide really early. I don't say I fight for you and all this stuff. I just don't like war words. So someone asked me to be on a water panel in a couple of weeks on a conference, and the title was Water Wars. I said, please change the name. I don't use words of battle in and they did. They go, well, what should it be? I go, solving water problems together. So one of my things is we're more connected than we think we are. So let's just emphasize that. So anyway, that's my advice.
Incredible advice. Thank you. And then I had another question, not related to that. But last December, there was a sweep of people who were homeless over by the Murphy Center. What does the city of Fort Collins plan to do to help our homeless population to find resources they so desperately need?
Thank you. That is a very big question across our country. Some of it it's a structural question. So there's so many different ways. One of them is increasing housing options and choices and supply. We have no housing supply. We have a housing first philosophy in Fort Collins. Get people housed, safe, secure, clean, warm, dry, everything. Then you can help them get services. But if you don't have a house, you can't do that. So there's that. So we tried that. So we're gonna keep fighting to get that back. And you know what? We're gonna win. Don't worry. I've got it. And then the 24/7 shelters proposed, right? So but a shelter is not a housing option, it's a shelter. So then there's financial support, then there's there's increasing addiction services, mental health, the mental health center's going out here. I don't want to conflate not living in a home with mental illness or addiction, but we would be naive to think that sometimes those aren't things that are also needed. The first thing I always say about the definition of homelessness is without a house. Well, let's just get a house, like a shelter, right? Americans also have to open their minds to different kinds of houses, right? We heard last night there's a 6,600 square foot house for people with dementia for 10 persons. And people were appealing it, trying to kick it out of the neighborhood because they said that the city's trying to shoehorn people into that space. Only in America is shoehorning people into 6,000 square feet. Like in Amsterdam, that would be a whole city block of, right? So we also have to change our mind of like what space is and how much and how we share it and how, right? All those things need to happen, and it needs to happen all at once. I don't know how to say that, but And it's not a satisfying answer because I wish I could say, oh, well, Houston did this, so we're doing this. I wish.
Yeah, it's a really complicated topic, and I work at Off-Campus Life, which it's the office's primary objective is to get students housing. So it's really incredible seeing the city of Fort Collins like taking this issue seriously, because it does affect a lot of, not only Fort Collins residents, but a lot of CSU students. And I'm glad that the city of Fort Collins is actively thinking about that.
Chair Trout, your time has expired.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. I yield.
I need your help.
With a minute left remaining, Senator Laffey, finish us off.
Thank you so much for coming tonight. I just had a quick question. So I know you talked about city council. What are some other ways, or are there other ways for students to get involved if maybe, I know some constituents have other time commitments on Tuesday nights?
Sure. Exactly. I always say, I don't think there's a hierarchy in community service. So when I left the house, people are like, oh, well, you went down to become mayor. Like, I don't even know what that means, right? So I don't really make a distinction between the value of being a good roommate or being here or being volunteering and helping anything. That's all service to your community, right? So you can be involved, you already are involved. People can be involved in any way, shape, or manner that they are able and willing and want to. And sometimes you have the bandwidth, you have the health, the strength, the time, or whatever it is to give. And sometimes, we also are net receivers because sometimes we're going to be sick or have a tragedy and we're going to need help, right? So I feel like if you have a community-minded spirit, it's all a piece of being a community member. So city council isn't the best thing. Being the elected person isn't the best thing. It's just a thing. One day I won't be elected. I'll probably be picking up food at City Park. I don't know.
Thank you, Ayu.
Thank you. And unfortunately, that's all the time we have. We would love to spend hours with you, but of course you have a life and we have business to attend to. So everyone, let's give Mayor Arndt another resounding.
Thank you for your time.
Gallery input next on the agenda. Before we move into that, there are two things. There's a person from, I believe he said he's an exchange student from the State Department. But one of his assignments essentially was to take a picture with a student body elected leader, which was me. And then he has to take a picture with a student government organization. So would the body be fine with him coming up here momentarily, doing a selfie, and then being good with it? Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's get it done.
Thank you so much, guys. Hi, my name is Mohsin.
Here, go ahead and use the microphone.
Hi, guys. My name is Mohsin and I'm from Pakistan and I'm an exchange student and just here for a semester. So I'm majoring in mechanical engineering, and like before that night, I believe I had no interest in politics, but seeing you all there and addressing the issues and solving the issues really admires me. And that's really impressive. And thank you for your time and the picture.
Absolutely.
Can anyone take the picture?
Yeah, I can take it.
Yeah, please. The whole you.
Sorry.
Yeah. So guys, you can convert it to 0.6.
Do you want another picture with me? That's what Kim.
Oh yeah, man. Please. Anyone would do it. Sorry guys, it's just an assignment.
I think I could do this panorama, because otherwise it's not gonna work.
Don't do panorama.
Don't do
No,
panorama? Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Not all of you are in it, so I'll get this side.
Tim, what if you take it from over there?
I don't think so.
It's okay. Sorry to bother you guys. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
There's another acknowledgement I want to make, and I hope he's fine with me doing this. There's a quote that exists in our conference room, and it's from 2007. It's from a man named Jason Green, who served as the first ever African-American student body president for CSU. Jason, if you'd like to stand, I'd love to give you a round of applause. A fantastic servant leader. So thank you for being here, Jason. All right, gallery input. Is there anyone from the gallery that wishes to speak? President Long.
Where can I go here?
My fellow senators, today I address you regarding a long overdue matter, the behavior and rhetoric of a senator over the past year. This senator's behavior and rhetoric has caused irreversible damage to the Associated Students of Colorado State University, ASCSU, individuals within ASCSU, constituents within the community, and the CSU student body. This behavior and rhetoric has been normalized for far too long, and due to an unfortunate frequency of these actions and considering the tendency of these actions being more erratic as time goes on. For those who are not familiar, here's a list of publicly documented events regarding this individual and that has transpired since the removal of Speaker Kyle Hill of February 2022. February 9th,
Order,
2022.
you can't speak about specific senators. That's ad hominem.
I didn't speak of a specific senator.
You literally said a specific senator.
A senator.
Yes, that would be.
How is that ad hominem?
Because you're speaking about a single one, to say what behavior should not be.
But I didn't name anyone.
Okay, but everyone in this space, is a part of Senate and so would know who that is.
No, I didn't say who it is.
Point of order, no, this was not ad hominem, this was not a specific person. I asked the chair to display that.
Well, why would you do this?
You can.
Kevin Clark, parliamentarian clerk.
Okay, we will just read off the rule. Debate that directly attacks a person, ad hominem, is not allowed. The offender may be called to order for such statements. Okay.
How would you?
Yeah. Let me formulate my interpretation here. Just because you're not saying someone by name does not mean that you're directing an attack towards a person. All right. The attack has already been implied, and for people in the space as well, right, can all have with context an idea of who it is you're talking about. Right. And so to bring about particular levy.
Please allow parliamentarian clerk to speak.
Or to levy particular accusations towards a senator or anybody else within the space is not permitted. There are different avenues in our organization to do that. We have the Supreme Court there for a reason to file an internal complaint. I believe that it's not best within at least my parliamentary inquiry, given the rules that we have in this space to keep our conversations germane and to the point. This isn't the space to do that. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Senator Reese, did you have a point?
Who is President Long debating?
He's not debating anyone.
So therefore it cannot be an ad hominem by the words that you just wrote off. Or I could have a misunderstanding. If you could read the words again, please.
Debate that directly attacks a person ad hominem is not allowed. The offender may be called to order for such statements. The chair may forcibly yield the speaking time of the offender if there are multiple instances while the offender has the floor.
Thank you, I yield.
Director Williamson, do you have a point?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead with, I don't even know what specific, even if it's not an ad hominem attack, don't call someone out like this in front of everyone. That's, no.
Director Williamson, do you have a point?
Never mind, nope.
Senator Hill.
I would entertain a vote to, declare this ad hominem or not.
Nope, nope.
Okay, we'll vote for that. For the Senate.
Parliamentarian clerk.
Madam Chair, you have the authority to determine whether or not a statement made in the Senate chambers is germane. And if the Senate wants to overrule that order, that determination, it requires a 2/3 vote.
President Long, I would encourage you to choose your words wisely, but I will permit you to continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. February 9th, 2022, this individual led a removal motion of then Speaker Kyle Hill due to general fatigue of the Senate not completing anything meaningful, Speaker Hill's lack of effective leadership within ASCSU, Speaker Hill's tendency for being prone to making critical mistakes within the facilitation of Senate. While the reasoning of removing Speaker Hill is generally seen as justified, the way the removal was facilitated was seen by some as a form of cruel and unusual punishment against Speaker Hill. Speaker Hill's removal was the only topic of conversation for nearly 30 minutes before his subsequent removal, but during those 30 minutes, no time was allocated to allow Speaker Hill to defend himself against the motions made. Additionally, Speaker Hill attempted to make a roll call. This individual attempted to make this a roll call vote, pressure more people into voting Speaker Hill out, and intensify the cruelty of the vote against Kyle. Further, before the session started, this individual also pressured senators of the College of Business, Brandon Baum, myself, and Noah Burge, to vote to remove Speaker Hill, concerned that they would abstain from the vote, questioning that this individual's intent for allowing free thought to thrive within the Senate. Finally, this senator's actions and rhetoric left Speaker Hill in such a mentally troubled state that he was driven to the point of suicide, and it was even sent to the hospital.
President Long, I would encourage you to not speak of such things without having had a trigger warning earlier in your. Yeah, those things are triggering. I would encourage you to choose your words wisely.
Okay. I'm not sure if this would be a point of personal privilege or point of order. The nature of disclosing someone who is still actively a member in the space, their struggles with mental health, that is incredibly inappropriate. So I don't know if that should be allowed to remain germane.
I'd like to.
President Long, I would encourage you to finish. You have 2 minutes left and continue to use your words wisely.
Mid-April of 2022, this individual sent Rob a text message saying, right, so you realize that calling that quorum means that you potentially won't finish your stuff, the budget, that must pass tonight, and therefore you are undermining your entire presidency. That was stupid, Rob. Saying the word stupid is a direct contradiction of this individual's insistence of using non-ableist language, giving the appearance of these guidelines applying to only certain people. May 4th, 2022, this individual made a run.
Point of personal privilege, language usage within marginalized communities differs from language used outside of those communities. And language usage is incredibly complex. And so I would encourage members to not apply their own judgments to communities they are not a part of. Thank you.
I'm a part of this community, but thank you. May 4th of 2022. This individual made a run for a chair election after publicly promising not to do so they wouldn't benefit off of the long Sandoval salary increase that they supported. When they ran for this position on May 4th, they mentioned that no one would be more qualified for this position than to run and also to run the committee.
1 minute remaining.
1 minute remaining. Okay, thank you. While this might have some truth, it is corrupt practice for advocate for a pay increase, promising not to be a beneficiary of that increase, then run for a position you promised not to take. Further, this senator themselves said in the same Senate session that individuals can learn on the job when voicing support for a senator and recruitment retention officer, but failed to nominate anyone else for chair elections. Since there's only 1 minute left, I'll just skip to the end. So my fellow senators, I don't know about you all, but I find this behavior of this individual morally apprehensible and deplorable that we have allowed this to exist within our organization as long as it has. As others, me included, have done, if others, me included, have done any of these actions that this senator has done, I have no doubt you have all would justifiably want to seek accountability for my actions. I will no longer ignore this double standard. I implore with you all to do the same. So my question to you all, and also
President Long, your
this
time has
individual,
expired.
I just asked for an apology. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Speaker DeSalvo, I would encourage you to also choose your following words wisely. Your 5 minutes starts now.
Absolutely, Madam Speaker. When I first ran for speaker last year, I did so because I wanted to change the environment that existed within the Senate. During BSOF ratification, it was clear to me that there were certain individuals with consolidated power who used that power to intimidate, to bully, and force others into voting the way they wanted them to. That changes now. When the Senate was forcibly divided between majority SDPS senators and college council senators, the reasoning for doing so was to protect those of marginalized identities and make them feel safe. The creation of a private Discord server, private and exclusive Discord server, was reasoned underneath the same logic. In fact, one of the leaders of this cult of personality claimed that everyone outside of this exclusive group was a racist. Those were things said publicly, but the things that were said privately in this server about other members of this chamber are deplorable. Senators who sat on the other side of the room were often labeled as white supremacists and subsequently the enemies of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This contributed to the utterly false narrative that ASCSU was a hostile environment for SDPS senators. Additionally, senators and associates in this Discord were warned to not associate with the other members of this chamber. Simply talking to someone that sat on the other side of the room would at bare minimum win someone dirty looks and unnecessary comments. In more extreme cases, however, this guilt by association led the leaders of this cult of personality to exclude the very people that they vowed to protect. They are responsible for making minority identities feel unsafe within this chamber. The leaders of this cult of personality leveraged intimidation and bully tactics in order to advance their personal hunger for power and to retain a narrative that other members of this chamber were the enemy. We are not your adversary. We are not out to get you, but we are your colleagues, we are your peers, and we are your fellow Rams. And we deserve the same respect that has always been shown to you. Additionally, the loudest advocates of DEI in this chamber, many of them have absolutely no idea what it really means. I commend the displays of bravery that have been exhibited tonight and over the last few days. I understand how easy it is to get roped into a situation like this, and those who are complicit in this behavior have the opportunity to change. However, and let me be clear, to the ringleaders of this cult of personality, accountability is coming. You can giggle all you want, but you won't be giggling soon. That's not a threat, that's a promise.
2 minutes remaining.
Point of
Speaker DeSalvo.
order, that sounds kind of ad hominem and like a threat.
Is there, I'm stressed out. Is there any other member of the gallery that wishes to speak at this time? No one wants to follow that up. Director. Let's get you a mic, Director.
Hi, everyone.
Director, your 5 minutes begin now.
Thank you. My name is Maggie Hendrickson. I'm the director for the Pride Resource Center. Use they, them pronouns. I'm also came here today to ask, and with gratitude, the way that this group can come together to support our LGBTQ community, particularly around the Lavender Bill, the Lavender Cabinet Bill. Really, I'm here to demonstrate how some of the folks in this room can really come together to advocate for some of our most marginalized communities. The work for this bill in particular is life-saving. I've seen it, I've heard it from a lot of students firsthand. It's been something that's been really important for the Pride Resource Center to have. So as it's being voted upon later tonight, I think just really wants everyone in the room to know that it's having a real day-to-day impact for a lot of our students. One of trigger warning. Going to mention suicide really briefly. Is that okay to do?
Is there anyone in the room that wishes to exit at this time?
Thank you. For our students here at CSU, our LGBTQ students experience about 56% of our LGBTQ students are at risk of suicide. And what we know from this research that we do with Pride, some of the statistics that we share, having access to gender affirming garments can significantly lower those rates by almost 50%. So I'm just here today to really invite everyone to come together on this issue to support our LGBTQ community. Head gay, and I can't even get the acronym right, because it is life-saving. So I want to say that. And I really want to say thank you to all the senators who've been working on that and coming together and really doing the work to putting the action behind the bill to come together and advocate. I do believe there's a lot of people doing really great work in this space to advocate for the people that need it. So I see that. And I know other of my colleagues see that. So I just want to say thank you to the people who wrote the bill, and I hope everyone can support it. And yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Is there any member of the gallery that wishes to speak at this time? Can we please get your name?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Tyner. I use pronouns he, him, his, and I serve on campus as the Assistant Director for Access and Accommodations at the Student Disability Center. I'm here to speak tonight to support the Lavender Cabinet Bill. As a member of the LGBTQ community, an alumni of CSU and staff on campus, I can also attest to the high impact this kind of program can have for not only our LGBTQ students, but students of other and marginalized identities to have access to gender affirming garments, basic needs supplies, and other items that the cabinet provides. So I encourage you to support this bill and continue to support the work of the Pride Resource Center and the resources this program can provide to students. I yield my time.
Is there any other member of the gallery that wishes to speak at this time? Ryan Barone.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Ryan Barone. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I serve as the Assistant Vice President for Student Success. I'm here with a colleague.
My name is Marianne Lucero, the Director of the Academic Advancement Center. My pronouns are she, hers. And I would also just like to share that we are definitely fully in support of the bill that will support the Pride Resource Center.
And in addition to that bill, we're really excited that you all will discuss, as I understand, a bill to provide staffing for an undocumented student coordinator. As I understand, this would be the first time at the university we would have that position. We're really grateful that ASCSU is generously contemplating that. That position would be located in our department, and we are fully committed to getting funding to make that permanent. And we believe Marianne's department of the Academic Advancement Center is really well positioned to provide that kind of support that's needed for those students on campus. So we're here this evening in support of that as well. I believe that's it. Thank you.
And with that, we only have 3 minutes remaining left of gallery input. Is there any other member in the gallery that wishes to speak at this time? Seeing none. Officer Bukhari, you have 3 minutes and 20 seconds remaining.
Okay. Hi all.
I would also encourage you to choose your words wisely.
Oh, it's not about that. So I serve as the Premier Attention Officer here at the ASCSU. My job is to get people in this space and keep them there. But aside from that, I'm also the vice president of the Swana Club, and we are throwing a big event on the 24th. It's called the Ramadan Iftar event. Iftar is generally the meal folks have when breaking their fast. The holy month of Ramadan is coming up, and we're throwing a huge event at the Student Alumni Center. We'd love for all of you to come and RSVP. If you'd like that information, we've been hanging out posters with QR codes. Please reach out to me if you'd like to come. It starts at 6:30, goes to 11. There'll be food, there'll be dessert, there'll be baklava. There'll be Indian food, there'll be presentations, there'll be prayer. So please come if you can. We'd love to have you all. I yield.
And with that, we're done with gallery input. We're going to move into executive reports. Is there any member of the executive branch that wishes to speak at this time?
Hi, everyone. That was a lot. As a reminder, my name is Grace. I'm the Director of Marketing. I just want to say a couple things because I haven't had the chance to talk to you all in a while. So one of the, am I blocking it? No. One of the biggest things that's coming up is our U+2 tie-dye event. Director Garcia is doing a lot of work with his City Council Action Committee. Also look out for the U+2 tie-dye event. If you were there last year, it was super successful. So come on down, tie-dye a shirt. Let's talk about U+2. I believe that'll be the first or second week of April. You'll hear more information about that going forward. Second of all, we have our No More CSU or the tuition increase protest. That's ongoing. If you haven't already gotten involved, please do. If you can join our Remind or flyers on Instagram, it's kind of all over campus. Please join that with, the more the merrier. And actually, CSU Dining just approved us putting our flyer in on all of the dining tables. Not entirely sure why they did that, but very excited that they did. So we are infiltrating the dining halls. And then the last thing, actually no, two more things. If you haven't already, so I'm wearing it, if you haven't already gotten a quarter zip, please do. If you are a member of ASCSU, it is yours, it is free. Just go to the front desk, make sure you check out with them, tell them what your size is, and if you have any questions, you can ask them or you can ask me. Lastly, Day at the Capitol was a while ago, but I didn't get to make this public announcement that I'm really excited about. The governor of Colorado followed us on Instagram. Hey! And I double checked, he does not follow CU Colors. All right, thank you all. If you have any questions, concerns, just send me an email or come talk to me. Love you all. I love you.
Director Welsh.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Evan Welch. I'm Director of Governmental Affairs. So earlier we had the mayor for Collins come up here and they talked about the city council. There actually is a committee that works on working with the city council. It's called the City Council Action Committee. It meets on Fridays from I think 1:30 ish. I have class after that, so I can't attend it all the time. But if you want to learn more about having a voice at the city level, please come to the Action Committee. Also, if more of you so, we might try to change the time because if it's not working for you, we will. So basically, if you want to know more, if you want to get more involved in the city level, but you don't know how, please reach out to either me or Jorge Garcia, who's the Director of Housing Security. And we're both on Slack just to find a way you can do to help bring the city level. And also just to reiterate, we're going to be doing our thing to get the U+2 on the ballot on April 4th. And what we're trying to do is get on the ballot. I know the mayor briefly talked about what we were considering, but we have considered it, and we will be trying to get on the ballot. Then we do more work after that to get it passed. U+2 is no more, so we think that's the best route. The other thing we need to mention is the next thing on the agenda that says we're advocating for Deputy Director of State Law and Policy. That position has been filled. However, they're not able to make it this night, so that ratification will happen next session. All right, thank you.
Is there any other member of the executive branch that wishes to speak at this time? Chief of Staff DC.
Zoom. Yeah. Okay. We can all hear me, right? Yay. Okay. So nice to meet you if I haven't met you yet. My name is Hayden Deason. I am the Chief of Staff and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. As for updates regarding exec, I believe that there's a big project coming up between the Director of Traditions and Programs and Environmental Affairs. Yes.
They haven't told me what it is yet, but they've really hyped it up in execs. So, and then today, in honor of International Women's Day, we talked about important and influential women in our lives, and that was I don't know. I feel like I got a really wonderful insight into a lot of people's personal lives, and yeah, that was really cool. As far as like a cabinet bonding thing, I finally got the bowling night in the works. And it's actually a lot cheaper than I expected it to be. So if Summit wants to do anything like that, that could be cool. And trying to think of what else. I don't know. Everyone's rocking it. I'm very proud of exec. So good job and good job, Summit. Anything else? Probably not forgetting anything.
Thank you, Chief of Staff D. Sims. With that, we'll move into judicial reports. Is there anyone from the judicial branch that wishes to speak at this time?
Hey. Hi, everybody. I'm the Chief Deputy Kelly Dungan, if we haven't met. Happy to see you all tonight. Just a quick update for you all on Rams Near the Rights. We have been plugging away at the Instagram. I've seen a lot of you follow us, so thank you. I loved seeing the follow requests roll in. You have followed us. It's ASCSU Supreme Court on Instagram. Other than that, we're working on some conflict resolution resources, and I am working with the people in charge of Ram Welcome to see if we can get some programming on the docket for the upcoming Ram Welcome in the fall. It takes a long time to get stuff like that pushed through, so just working ahead of time. But yeah, with that, as always, please let me know if there's anything that you'd like to see us do with Rams Know Their Rights. We're always looking for new ideas, and we've gotten some of our best ones from the senators, so we appreciate your input. And I'll turn it over to Chief Zacharias.
Hey y'all, if you don't know me, my name is Marcus Zacharias. I use the he, hers of pronouns. I'm y'all's Chief Justice this year for the next couple of months. I have something we want to announce. Elaine, Justice Truxell will be throwing on branch battles. If y'all weren't here last year, that means exec and legislative and front desk will be going against in a couple of games that we have. The winner of those games gets a pizza party through the judicial branch's budget. So come out, try to win. It looks like y'all can use some excitement in your lives with the faces I'm getting right now. Other than that, if you have work that you want the judicial branch to work on, please get it to us as soon as possible. Our time is getting pretty full. And with the end of the year coming around, we just want to make sure if y'all have any official questions for us that y'all get it asked as soon as possible. With that, I hope y'all have a great night.
I thought he was going to drop it. Chair Charles?
I motion for a 5-minute recess.
There's been a motion for a 5-minute recess. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Be back here at 8 and 17. Thank you. Oh. I've given you an additional 2 minutes. So please come back.
Are they the ones in the Krusty Krab layer?
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
Also, stress is a real thing. I have Lego stress squishy thingies. If anyone would like to borrow one, please don't steal it. They're mine. Yes. I only have 3.
I can't catch you.
Please pass them around your peers if you feel comfortable. If not, we could possibly find more.
All right, everybody, we will now move into confidence business for the parliamentarian. Please put 2 hours on the confidence clock. We will start with the ratification of the deputy director. Is that not it?
That's not today anymore. They're not here.
Oh, not anymore? Okay. Then we will move into our old business, starting with the lavender cabinet bill.
Can I make a motion really fast? So after that gallery input, I do not feel confident in your ability to lead this impartially, so I would like to make the motion to have Kim lead this session for tonight, so.
Fantastic. I'll step down and you can debate on that, folks.
So I feel like everyone already has their opinions, but we can open that up to discussion and debate unless if y'all would feel comfortable simply just going into a voting period. Chair Trout.
I think it would just be best for folks to do vote by secret ballot.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. Yes, we do. In the interest of staying impartial, I will not be handing these out to y'all, but Officer Picard.
Do we even have paper? Killing trees, Sam. Killing trees.
For online participants, sorry to interrupt, sir. For online participants, would you rather us vote to host to the host account or towards Kevin Clark?
I'll let parliamentarian Clark answer that question.
Please private message Nick DeSalvo on the Zoom.
All righty, thank you.
Yep.
Madam Speaker.
Associate senators can vote. Yes, Senator Reese.
Could you clarify a yea or nay for the specific vote, please? Abstentions.
I will get to you in 1 second, Senator Levy. Let's do yay is you do want Speaker DeSalvo to keep chairing. And nay is no, you do not want Speaker DeSalvo to keep chairing.
Point of order, since the motion was to have.
Oh, it was
remove it. Yeah, it's the other way around.
Okay, yeah. So yes, you would like for me to chair. No, you would like for Nick to stay. I think that's the clearest way that I could put that. Does anyone need me to clarify that? Senator Levy. I yield to redundancy. Can you help me, Kevin?
I'm sorry?
Yes, Associate Kimberly.
So sorry, can we just go over what the yes and what the no is?
Yeah, we can go over that one more time. How did I say that?
The motion is on whether the speaker pro tempore shall chair the remainder of the session or not. The yay vote in the affirmative means that Speaker pro tempore Carazetta Perez would be chairing for the rest of the night. A nay vote would mean that we wouldn't have her as chair and that Speaker DeSalvo would be the one who would be chairing.
Information requires a 2/3 vote.
That's correct.
So yes for Kim, oh, sorry, yes is for Speaker Pro Tempore and no is for Speaker Consult.
The motion wasn't made that way, but that's essentially how it would be. How long would it take to count, and do you think we could take another recess? I don't have a clear answer to that, but normally it only takes 3 or 4 minutes to count. Is there a motion for a 3 or 4 minute recess? Yeah, is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Has everyone voted? Okay, you are free to exit, roam around. Please be back by 8:29.
Hi. Just for the mental state.
Can you unmute the owl?
Apologies, can you hear us now?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, sorry.
Read the abstract.
Yeah, that's
That's
fine.
fine.
Okay. Abstract. This bill aims to fund the Lavender Cabinet. This cabinet serves trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming students with gender-affirming garments, resources, and care. This bill aims to allocate $20,000 from the Senate discretionary fund to continue this service for the students.
Okay, thank you, Officer Bakari. So this bill is in its second reading, and it was seen by conference committee. So I will open the floor to any committee chairs to present any of the changes made in their respective committees. Chair Trout.
Since I have committee reports for almost all the legislation, I'm just going to do it from here instead of y'all seeing it, a pretty thing.
Okay.
University Affairs Committee reviewed Bill 5214. The committee added Ty Smith, Director of NAC, as an endorsement, as well as added Chair Salazar of the DEI Affairs Committee as an individual this piece of legislation would be forwarded to. University Affairs Committee endorsed this piece of legislation with unanimous consent.
Thank you, Chair Trout. Are there any other committee chairs that wish to present about this bill and the changes made in their committees? Yes.
I will be presenting as the vice chair for this committee since, for the DEI Affairs Committee, since this is a bill written by our chair, I had to chair their committee. I don't think we made many edits. I know we did, as we can see, we did endorse this piece of legislation. So the DEI Affairs Committee unanimously endorsed this piece of legislation. I don't think we've made any other edits. You can just scroll through for us so I can see really quickly. I don't think we did, but just in case.
It's a good speed.
I'm just gonna assume we didn't. So I yield my time. Thank you.
Senator Hill.
Is the voting done for, I mean, like, for members who have not voted, can they still have an opportunity to vote?
So from what I'm aware, and the reason as to why I'm standing here right now is that there was a point of order made alleging the validity of that count and asking for a recount. Therefore, both Speaker Pro Tempore Caraceta Perez and Speaker DeSalvo relinquished the chair, handing it over to me, and therefore that vote was a moot point. And so that was the outcome. If you all wanted to relaunch a vote, we can do that too, I suppose. Senator Reese.
So just to clarify, that whole point and process we went through is now moot and you're trying to sign up for the rest of the evening.
I guess so. Yeah.
Can I just do a quick point?
So the recount essentially voided the vote?
That is because the Speaker Pro Tempore relinquished the chair and handed it over to me.
Can I make a point of clarification?
Yes.
So typically that's relinquished when folks involved within those votes are involved within those votes. Once that vote is situated, then if the body voted no, Speaker DeSalvo will still chair, then Speaker DeSalvo will continue chairing the Senate. If the Senate voted no, we don't want him to chair, we want Speaker Pro Tempore to chair, then she would come back in as chair. But until we get that sorted out, line of succession is parliamentarian chairs.
So the votes are still being counted?
To my understanding, but I'm not accounting for that. So that's a folks question.
Counted.
Well, we have the vote counts. Right? Okay, in a vote of 17 to 24 to 6, that original motion failed. They required a 2/3, and therefore Speaker DeSalvo, if he wishes to retain the chair, can do so. Okay.
Thank you, President Attorney.
Of course. If we can go ahead and continue on to old business until any of those officers do come back for the time being. All right, I am going to open up, because it is second reading, 30 minutes of discussion and debate on the Lavender Cabinet bill.
Sorry, real quick, did you want me to present our change for budgetary as well?
Yes, Chair.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry. Hi, y'all. The Chair for Budgetary Affairs. So with this bill, we only made one change. We just changed the second to last therefore clause. So the May 31st, 2028 was changed to 2026. So that was a change that we had made, and I think that, no, not I think, it was the only change that we made. So that's it for budgetary. Thank you.
Yeah. My bad.
Before we continue, here's what I do. I mean, obviously, the motion failed, but thanks for making it. I'm going to step down as chair, not because you want me to, but because I want to. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Parliamentarian clerk, can you catch me up?
Absolutely. We are now in discussion and debate on Bill 5214.
Perfect. Chair Oswald.
Hi, sorry. So I wanted to, I know when I presented this bill a while ago, a couple weeks ago, I don't really know, and it's gone through committee, and in committee, there were some questions that were presented. And I know since not everyone there was able to get these answers, I would like to make them a little more clear. First thing, and this is the biggest thing, and I'm saying this because I didn't know about it until like 2 weeks ago, the allocation of funds to the Pride Center would not be directly going to the Pride Center. It would be going from Senate discretionary into Senate fund, into the Senate fund balance, earmarked for the express purpose of the lavender cabinet. So then when Jessie Schultz, our financial advisor, receives an invoice, she is able to pay that out through Senate fund balance. It does not go to the Pride Center. We are not sending $20,000 to the Pride Center so they can just use it. It is going to Senate fund, and it will be earmarked specifically for the express purpose of the lavender cabinet. I know there were some concerns about itemized expense lists, and we are not able to provide those expense lists due to the nature of the lavender cabinet. However, I'm going to work going forward with our director, Maggie Hendrickson, and our financial advisor, Jessie Schultz, to see if we can get like a monthly report of just like, here's how much exited the fund balance for this, for the lavender cabinet, not necessarily naming what items, because that is a safety risk to our students, but just trying to make sure y'all can see exactly how it's getting, like where it's going and when it's going in, the amounts. And like, I think that's everything I wanted to say about that. But in addition to that, I'm someone who used the lavender cabinet before, and it quite literally saved my life. There's no other way around it. This service provided to our students at free cost saves people's lives. It saves my roommates' lives. It saved my life. It saves my friends' lives. And you see it every single day in the Pride Center. And it's not just for our trans and gender nonconforming students. It's for any student who uses to wish it. Anyone can come in and take a garment. We offer menstrual products. We offer books. We offer makeup. We offer STEM toys. It's not just you have to be this identity. You can come in, and please come into the Pride Center. I promise we're very friendly and we try to be very welcoming. But like, we want this to be here for our students, and I ask that this body helps us allows us to continue to do this. Thank you, Mrs. Speaker. I yield.
Director Williamson.
I'm gonna hijack this microphone. Hi, my name is Charlie. I use they, them pronouns. If I haven't gotten the chance to meet you yet, I'm the Director of Diversity and Inclusion in the executive branch. I just wanted to sort of follow Chair Aslan in talking a little bit about the importance of the lavender cabinet as a student staff member at the Pride Center, myself as well. It's something that is always really positively impacts students. It's something that when we give tours to students is something that always like surprises them and makes them feel really seen. And it is one of my favorite things to be able to say that one of the reasons that we have this lavender cabinet is because of the past and hopefully continued support of ASCSU in making it possible. So I just wanted to encourage that continued support and that it really is making a difference to our students and is a very tangible way that ASCSU can be directly giving back to our LGBT+ students. Thanks, I yield.
Senator Associate Kimberly.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. About a week ago, would you say? Yeah, 2 weeks ago, something like that. I went and checked out the lavender cabinet. Chair Aslan showed me around because I didn't know. So I encourage you that if you don't know or you want to go see that, go up there, see somebody in the Pride Resource Center. They will show you around. It's super cool. I got to see the lavender cabinet, everything that has to offer there. So I just encourage this body to support this bill. It was super, super cool. It was a great experience. Thank you. So yeah, I just encourage this body to support this bill.
Senator Lowe. So I just kind of wanted to add to kind of what folks are saying about the life-saving nature of the lavender cabinet. For a lot of folks, when they come to college, it's their first time to really get to like actually explore their identity and what that means in all of these different ways. And I feel very privileged that I was a mentor with the Pride Resource Center last year, working with new and transfer students to the university. And I had students who used the lavender cabinet and found it like incredibly affirming to them. Like, this is a place where people can actually access things to help them feel like themselves. I also want to say too that like out-of-pocket cost for gender affirming garments is a very real thing. And I think that the lavender cabinet as a practice of mutual aid between ASCSU and Pride Resource Center and also our students is really important. Thank you, April. Chair Trump.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If in case all the like overwhelming support for this bill, not only within the centers and associate centers and members of ASCSU haven't made that clear, and you want to know, like truly like seeing students talk about the joys and the life-saving care that the lavender cabinet provides, come over to the Pride Resource Center. There are literally dozens and dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, probably hundreds, of students who will tell you that the pros to funding this lavender cabinet far outweigh the cons of not funding it. And so I would love folks to have that at the forefront of our mind. Even if you do not represent the Pride Resource Center in that capacity, each and every single one of us represents an individual who is in the LGBTQ plus community. Each and every single one of us represents an individual who needs the life-saving care that the lavender cabinet has to offer. So I would encourage folks to think on that. And I urge folks to have an aye vote on this bill. I yield.
Senator Levy.
All right, hi everyone. If you don't know me, my name's Megan. I use they them pronouns. I'm a senator for Warner College. I come from Wisconsin, from rural dairy farms. Shout out to cheese and dairy for raising me. I come from a space where I was not, I didn't even know that I was a part of the queer community. And here I am today at CSU in a place where I'm showing up in drag, something that's being banned in 20 states right now, to support the people that I care about the most. I think you can be here in this space and hear loud voices about people who is life-saving for them. Like, I know this lavender cabinet was life-saving for me and multiple people in this room, but I want to draw attention to the 50 people that I've come in contact with through my experience with creating the drag club, of the little voices that you don't hear. Like the little voices that come into Pride, like very, very quiet people who are like, hey, I heard that there was something here that could help me maybe. And you're not going to hear that. You're not going to get reports on that. You know, you're not going to get all of those little voices that aren't out yet, that this is helping. And you can hear all these loud, things. Like, I could talk to you all day about this and my experiences with the community, as well as students, as well as even young people who resources like this, like even having deodorant, like this is another thing that Pride supplies to people. It's like deodorant and toothpaste and like things to take care of their bodies, no matter how you identify. Like, it's these little things that help people get along. And like, it's these little things that you're not going to hear how this 20 grand is going to help like so many people. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And if you ever have any questions about that, or any sort of like gender affirming questions, if you're not sure about pronouns or any of that crazy stuff, like let me know. Like, let's just chat, let's have a coffee, like let's talk about this bill and how this is going to be great.
Senator Winston.
Good evening, y'all. So I first wanted to start out by by shouting out a couple of orgs from the Black/African American Culture Center that are that are here in support of this bill. I think that that definitely that having them in space, having them show their support so openly and so publicly, hopefully would show everyone in the space that this is not just this is not just an isolated issue. This does not only affect a very small part of our population. This also affects students with intersecting marginalized identities. And so at this time, I'm going to yield part of my time to the current co-president of the Black Student Alliance.
Everyone, my name is Sheza. I serve as the co-president of the Black Student Alliance. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm here to support this bill for the Lavender Cabinet. The BSA mission statement is to support the cultural, political, and cultural interests of Black students on campus, and Black LGBT students are very underrepresented group of people, and I really want my organization to support them in all ways possible. So that's why I'm here today, and I really urge you to support this bill. And I'm gonna pass it to the Vice President of United Men of Color.
What's up, y'all? My name is Joshua Duran. I am the Vice President of the United Men of Color, another Black definition org up here on campus. And we are just in full support. All Black definition organizations are in full support of the Lavender Bill. Just because of everything that, not only that we have all heard tonight, but everything that we've heard in the past couple of months with the creation and development and passing and the process of this bill. We just hear how much it will greatly help all the LGBTQIA plus community, as well as every student up here at ASCSU. So on behalf of the Black Deaf organizations, on behalf of United Men of Color, and on behalf of the Black African American Cultural Center, we encourage everyone in here to vote affirmative for this bill. I yield my time.
Thank you, Joshua. It's back to you, Senator Winston. Do you yield your time? Okay. Senator Lutz.
Hello, everyone. I can guarantee you that every single person in this room knows a trans person. You know me, I'm trans. You know several of the Pride Resource Center associates, they're trans. You know people that aren't in this space that are trans. This bill will save lives. Like I can give you so many examples of how gender affirming garments have saved lives in the past, and they're going to save lives. I'll keep this short. I highly, highly, highly encourage everyone to vote in favor of this bill. I yield.
Thank you. Senator Denton.
Yeah, hi. So I'm on Zoom. I was going to give a story about people I know that this could help, but that's already been said, and there's no point in repeating the same thing you've already heard. So I would like to make the motion to previous question. I don't know if there's any more people on the speakers list, but if they are, I think they're all going to say the same thing we've already heard. So I make the motion to previous question.
Senator Denson, you are the last one, but there has been a motion made to previous question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose say nay. Okay. Thanks, Kyle. Oh, okay. Well then, do you have a point?
No, this was more like a point of emotion.
Okay.
Sorry, need to use a mic. This is more like a motion when you're done.
Okay. So we will now enter a voting period. I'm just gonna pick to do it by secret ballot.
Could I first make the motion to pass this by unanimous consent?
Yeah, the motion has been made to pass this by unanimous consent. Is there a second?
Point of order, it's any dissent. to
Any
that.
dissent, sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh, you got my point. Is there any dissent? Seeing none. This passes with unanimous. Congratulations to the writers of the bill. We will now be moving into Bill 5213, which is my bill, so I will be stepping down to hand off the gauntlet to Parliamentarian Clark.
I got you one. You're not the third. You're not even in the line of succession. Sorry.
Can we amend that? Can we suspend the bylaw?
Oh.
One day.
Can I get Ryan Barone and Marianne down here, please?
Are you pushing?
Right. If I switch you, it's just because I don't have my glasses on and I can't touch it. You're all good. I can't see
There was one other time. That's fine, right? Officer Bakari, could you please read the title and abstract of Bill 5213?
Yes, I can. Okay. Bill 5213, additions to Bill 5122. Let's see, abstract. This bill is a continuation of Bill 5122 with only additions from the Senate discretionary fund.
Okay, thank you, Officer Bakari. All right, since this is on second reading, I will open up 30 minutes unless, do we have any kind of presentation that's happening here or?
Just a quick point of clarification, don't committee chairs do
yes,
conference committee reports?
That's correct. Thank you, Chair Trout.
No, you're all good.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start with committee reports then. Actually, Chair Ritter's first, and then we'll go ahead and go next. So Chair Ritter.
Hi, I just wanted a motion for 15 minutes of Q&A.
Sure thing. There's been a motion for 15 minutes of question and answer.
Chair Ritter, would you be able to amend your motion to have it after committee report or conference committee reports?
I would encourage it
Before? Okay.
just because not everyone has seen this bill or known the complete origin of this bill.
Okay.
So I think your edits would make more sense once that was presented.
Okay, perfect. And never mind.
Okay, so the motion is on 15 minutes of Q&A. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor of starting 15 minutes of Q&A, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
All abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. We will open up 15 minutes of Q&A starting now with the first placard. Okay, Senator Lau.
Hello. So I know that in committee you mentioned that this bill is modeled off of MSU Denver's Immigrant Services Program, and I think it's a wonderful program. So could you talk a little bit more about like what you're taking from that, how you're using it for this bill?
Yeah, I'll start. So again, my name is Ryan Brewer. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and Marianne and I will try to answer any questions. Yeah, so MSU Denver has been a little bit ahead of us in this space around explicitly providing support for undocumented students. They've got a slightly higher enrollment than we do. We believe that modeling it after this position will then result in a better enrollment here at CSU as well. Their position is also nested in their TRIO area. And so the area that Marianne directs is our TRIO program at CSU. So that putting this undocumented student support in this area that for decades has served students who are limited income, first generation, racially minoritized will allow us to create the synergies to provide support. We also think it allows us to do some really cool intersectional work for this population. So both holding the unique experiences of undocumented students and recognizing there's some overlap with other minoritized populations that we're supporting. That's how MSU Denver is doing it really well. And so that's why we look at it a lot.
So thank you so much.
Can I make a motion really quick?
Sure.
Would the authors be willing to do a 10-15 minute presentation or motion for a presentation period for the authors so they can digest it a little bit more, because I know a lot of folks haven't seen this bill yet. And just to give the full historic context, because there might be members who don't know that context enough to ask questions.
Second.
Yeah. Would the presenters, first of all, be willing to provide a presentation?
You're gonna get stuck with me talking. I didn't prepare any slides. I didn't know there'd be a presentation, and I can certainly give it a try if that's what you'd like.
That's basically it, yeah.
Okay. Sure thing. Well, if we are gonna have a motion on it then, is there any second? Okay, there's a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All against? Abstentions? Okay, 15 minutes.
And just to be clear, I feel a little weird being the guy in the suit talking and Mary Ann's not talking. I've just been involved in the history a little bit more, and Mary Ann will correct and clarify anything that I say that's wrong. So my understanding of the history of this is the previous ASCSU president, Christian, was really involved and got a lot of support and feedback from our undocumented student club and organization, that just like your colleague mentioned, that we're falling behind peer institutions and not having dedicated support staff to support undocumented students. The dynamics of managing life as an undocumented person is incredibly complex. Things like when folks have DACA or don't have DACA greatly inform their access to employment and careers afterwards. And so the nuances of trying to provide support to this population interface with financial aid, interface with student legal services, and having somebody who's trained, who understands those lived experiences and can help manage the network of support was really important for this group of students. The population projections in the state of Colorado are that we should and can expect more undocumented students graduating Colorado high schools and pursuing higher education. So we know that there's a pipeline for that number to continue to grow and increase. And so the history was, let's see if we can catch up with some of our peers like MSU Denver and create a full-time position. At the time when the bill was written, the university was going through some pretty big reorganization. Folks might know that, for example, the Student Diversity Programs and Services were previously in the Division of Student Affairs and then got nested in a new area. And so some of the updates to the bill include changing the location of the position from the Office of Inclusive Excellence to the Academic Advancement Center. That came with unanimous support from the Office of Inclusive Excellence, from the Division of Student Affairs, and from longtime faculty who have been supporting these students in the student group, including Dr. Eric Ishawada, Dr. Sultana Munoz. We're in support of this location in the Academic Advancement Center. So that's one of the updates that we wanted to offer here. I'll just say, I think this is brilliant by ASCSU, because what you all are doing, if you support this bill, is really pushing the hand of the university. So this is a 2-year bill for one-time support with the expectation that I and Mary Ann and those at the university find the money to make this permanent, and that's our commitment. I've had preliminary conversations with President Parsons about this. She's actually visiting the Undocumented Student Club meeting on the 19th of April, and this will be a topic of conversation, is how will President Parsons step up and provide the base funding for this position to be permanent. So ASCSU is really, I think, smartly doing this for 2 years to allow the university some time to get connected. Also referenced in the proposal is an idea of thinking more about a networked approach in Northern Colorado. And so there's a really big foundation in Colorado called the Bohemian Foundation. We've talked with them. They care very much about providing support for undocumented students. They want CSU to work with Poudre School District and Front Range Community College to create a seamless transition for students from high school to community college and to CSU. And so we intend to leverage this, if approved tonight, to not just get one position to support permanently, but to get several positions at each of those areas to create a really strong network in some ways that really creates an exciting national model. I'm not sure I'm at with the 10 minutes, but let me offer one other piece. We're really excited that we worked with lawyers and student legal services, and especially Dr. Eric Ishawada, a faculty member on campus, to create a co-op for students who are undocumented without DACA that will allow them to do contract work and get really beautiful experiences doing invoices and trying to engage employment, because this is a big barrier after students graduate, is what employment opportunities will be available to them. And so this co-op work will be a core component of the networked approach of Poudre School District and also Front Range Community College and CSU. So we've had conversations with leaders in each of those organizations. This bill gets us one step closer to creating this, and the Bohemian Foundation is really excited to partner with us to provide the support more. Mary Ann, anything you'd add? Is that okay? I don't know if that was comprehensive enough or too comprehensive, if I struck that balance, but.
That was great. Thank you so much. With that, we will move back into question and answer, starting with Senator Johnson.
I yield to redundancy. You answered all my questions.
Chair Trout, I have you on the speakers list.
That was to make my previous motion. So I yield to redundancy.
No worries. Are there any other questions for our presenters? Okay, fantastic. We will move back into committee reports on this bill, starting with Chair Ritter.
One moment, hold on, I'm pulling it up. Can another committee chair member go really quick while I pull it up?
Sure thing. Chair Trout.
University Affairs Committee reviewed Bill 5213, I think is the number for this one. The committee added the list of individuals the bill would be forwarded to. These included members that were sent to the original bill, Bill 5122. Titles and positions of these folks were also updated to the best of my ability. I would encourage the author to go do those really quickly just to make sure those are correct. LinkedIn was my friend on that one. Additionally, all the SDPS directors were added on that list as well. University Affairs Committee discharged with unanimous consent.
Thank you, Chair Trout. Chair Ritter, are you ready?
No, next person, please.
No worries. Yep.
For DEI Affairs Committee, we didn't have much changes, kind of like the last one. We added Senator Lowe as a endorsement, as well as endorsing this piece of legislation with unanimous consent. Did we?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, there it is. I was like, I didn't see your name. And that is all. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Are there any other committee chairs that wish to report?
Okay, we did not have any edits for this one. We just endorsed it.
Okay, great.
I see it now. We changed it from Office of Inclusive Excellence to Academic Advancement Center within the therefore clause. The second to last therefore clause. That's it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chair Ritter. With that, we will move back into 30 minutes of discussion and debate, starting with the first placard. Chair Aslan.
Hi, I'm the youngest child of a refugee and an immigrant to America, and I cannot tell you how difficult it is to get asylum in this country. I still have family members who have been going through it for 5 years. They're still trying to get their asylum here. Having someone who knows the ins and outs, because our student legal services, no matter how hard they try, they will not be able to serve that group of students due to how much nuance is in it, would be immensely helpful. Some students come here on visas for education, and then things in their home countries destabilize so much so that they cannot safely go home, and they will need asylum. And if we cannot find a way to get them that asylum, they will be going home to an environment where they may die. I come from a family that struggled a lot to get here, and having this service for our students, having something that can mitigate the struggles that people who are undocumented, people who are immigrants to this country, people who are refugees, people who are looking for asylum, is integral to our student body, because I guarantee you they're out there, they're hiding, they're a little bit quiet because they're too scared to speak out. A lot of times saying their identity, saying I'm a refugee, saying I'm an immigrant, saying I'm the child of an immigrant or I'm the child of a refugee, gets some weird looks. It's scary. It's not something easy to go through. But this service to our students is something that we need to be able to provide. And while it may not look perfect right now, that doesn't mean it can't get there. So I ask that you please entertain this because our students need it. We can't leave people behind just because they don't hold identities that are here in America that are visible, or because their identities are a little more hidden because they're too scared to say it. And with that, I also ask that I be moved from sponsor to endorsement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield.
Okay, thank you, Chair Aslan. We're going to move over to Chair Trout.
I had the privilege of seeing the original bill come into Senate last year, and while it was one of the last bills that we got to see before the 51st Senate adjourned for the final time, it was probably one that had the most impact by far. A lot of the times we look at legislation and we wonder, what's the longevity of this piece of legislation? How are folks down the line going to know about what we did and whatnot? And while folks may forget which Senate this came from, the funding came from, or the authors or anything like that, the impact on this student body will be so beneficial for so many students. And I would encourage an I vote on this piece of legislation. It has been beautifully written, and I cannot imagine a more noble project. So I yield it on to my time.
Thank you, Chair Trout. Senator Lowe.
Hi, y'all. So when I saw this bill was modeled off of MSU Denver, I got really excited. So for those of you who don't know me, I am a transfer student from MSU Denver, and I have the privilege of being an orientation leader. And I got to work very closely with immigrant services at MSU Denver. And Gregor, who was the director while I was there, had the lived experience of the students, and being able to see that in an orientation session when we had those students coming into college, they were terrified. Their parents didn't speak the same language as the session sometimes, where they're like being able to just like connect with Gregor and see their experience in him and see the impact it had on the community at Metro was just, it was amazing. And so I want that for CSU. And I also want to say too that like in like as an orientation leader at MSU Denver, like seeing the involvement too in the help of immigrant services for getting, you know, people who are on DACA or undocumented on our orientation team, like they were so fundamental in that, setting people up for success and helping you navigate really difficult careers, especially a lot of people I'm very close to want to be in healthcare, and like immigrant services was fundamental in helping them like learn to navigate healthcare as someone who doesn't have legal residency. Like that's really difficult, and you can only do that when you have the experience. And so like I want to encourage people to vote yes, because this is really, really, really important. This is really, really important given the current national scheme of this country as well, where we are tearing children away from their families at the border. Like this is the least we can do to give back to our communities, and the least we can do to give people a shot at having a future here. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Lowe. Senator Silva.
Hi, so I wanted to speak a little bit about this because I am an undocumented student and I have been part of undocumented for over 2 years. And I feel like a lot of the time we don't have the opportunity of having undocumented students who these bills affect us be able to talk transparently about it. I transferred from a different university because there was no immigration services and there was a lack of opportunities for us to be able to access resources other people have been able to receive. And coming to CSU, there have been a few more opportunities, but unfortunately, I was only able to reach out and have those resources because of Undocumented United, the club on campus. And a lot of the members who are part of that organization, none of them are getting paid to help us. It's more of like volunteering for us to get those resources. So having someone whose specific position is to help us would be incredible. And I feel like overall, this is something that is going to become even more of an issue because a lot of people who would have previously been able to qualify as a DACA recipient no longer will be able to because they aren't able to have any new applicants come in. So it'll be even more difficult as time goes on. So I recommend everyone to understand that this is a really important issue. And as previously stated, not that many people like myself feel comfortable sharing their status. So that's kind of a little bit of what I wanted to say. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Silva. Associate Scott Perez.
I also just wanted to voice my support for this bill. As someone who's had to go through the loops and circles of the immigration system, it took my family 15 years from a visa to a citizenship, and that is in the best case scenario. 15 years is like the loop. I am from a small town in the Hidalgo state, and Chico del Mineral, really stupid name because it just means little mine. It's quite not smart. I'm not sure who named it, but there, especially in Colorado, there are CSU is one of them where a lot of undocumented people are the people that run the dining halls, the people that run services, and it, especially as someone who works in those services, it does feel at times that the CSU does take advantage of those people. And this is one step we can address that with. Many of those people, some of my coworkers who work at CSU dining hall, students that go here, and it is such a difficult problem to deal with immigration. So this is again a small step we can do to address that issue. Thank you. I yield my time to the chair.
Thank you, Associate Scott Perez. Chair Ritter.
Hi, y'all. So I also want to voice my support for this bill. I think it's great. And as someone that comes from an immigrant family, and as the firstborn in my father's side of my family that is born here, and that's something like I don't really share out loud, but like that's something that I think is really important and is really important to support. And I'm really excited for this bill, and I encourage everyone to pass it. And so, you know, from my own my own experience from my own father's side of the family and his indigenous people from Mexico and how their stories have impacted me in my life and how they immigrated here, and, you know, seeing how they've been impacted negatively and, you know, have wanted better for me, and I want better for my community. And I think this is a really amazing bill that we should all support, and, you know, something that I encourage everyone to, and I know that's something I will. And then I also wanted to ask if I could be added to the endorsement list as well. That's it. I yield. Thank you.
Personal privilege. Can we pass a piece of paper around to add all of it? Anyone who wants to endorse this?
Yeah,
Make our life
absolutely, we can do that.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And Chair Ritter, did you yield? Okay, fantastic. With that, our speakers list is finished. Are there any more senators or associates who wish to speak about this bill?
I technically have a hand raised, but at the same time, I was just going to motion the previous question. You just heard 5+ testimonies of why this bill is good. So I was going to motion the previous question, and then after that, I have a motion to make.
Yeah, and just for extra context, we do have 2 senators who raised their placards. Does that change your action at all, or do you still want to make that motion?
It does not. I assume it's going to be in the same support. Obviously, you can ask those 2 senators if they really want to speak out. They obviously can.
There were actually also motions for previous question as well. So
fantastic.
Like we're all in agreement there. So there's been a motion placed for previous question. Is there a second on that? There's a second. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay, fantastic. Procedure, I believe, is to move into a roll call vote unless there's any differences.
I would like to make the motion for unanimous consent on this bill.
Okay, there's been a motion for unanimous consent. Is there any dissent to passing this piece of legislation? Seeing none. All right, can I hand it back over to Kim?
Kim, on your right.
Senator Lutz.
I don't know how to make this motion, but I would like to make a motion to table the all gender and open housing expansion resolution till next work session.
No, I mean, that's probably like one of those.
Are you the all?
Yeah, I wanted the authors.
Yeah, then I'll just table this.
Okay, thank you.
Point of order, that motion would be a postpone, not a table.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry.
I'll postpone it.
Thank you.
It's stressful.
Also, I just wanted to share that I am the product of 2 Panamanians that I had spent the majority of my childhood in Denver on Colfax at the immigration office, fighting deportation, and I was born here, which is wild. So it took
it took my mom like 10 years and my dad joining the service for us to gain citizenship. So to have this position, especially to help young people, because I didn't know how to navigate college as most first generation students do, but then I also had the added effect of my parents didn't know what to do either. So I just want to thank the body so much for passing this piece of legislation. The next piece of legislation, I think Kevin Clark has up, parliamentarian clerk, which is the.
Point of personal privilege, can you have the agenda come up?
Of course.
Thank you.
If I can find it.
We're working on getting a piece of legislation. There was only 4, and Senator Lutz just motioned to postpone theirs. So this would be the last piece of
We do
all
have,
business.
we do have the constitutional amendments. The Constitution copies amendments.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's on its 3rd read, so we don't have to stress out too much about that.
Sweet. Okay. Perfect. So we will be moving into 5212. Perfect. Would the parliamentarian please read the abstract?
Bill 5212, Addressing Anti-Semitism Act. Abstract. The purpose of this bill is to commit the Associated Students of Colorado State University to combating anti-Semitic rhetoric and actions within their communities. To ensure that these actions can be addressed properly, the Associated Students of Colorado State University shall also seek to undergo training regarding anti-Semitism led by leaders from the Advisory Council on Jewish Inclusion.
Point of information, even for 2nd reading, don't the authors have to be present? That's a question for parliamentarian clerk.
Chair, can you please restate your question?
Of course, even during 2nd reading, do the authors need to be present for us to be able to vote on things? I know that's historically been the case.
Historically, that's been the case. I would need, I'm sorry.
It says in the bylaws, like there are circumstances where an author can't be present.
Microphone.
There are circumstances where if an author can't be present for whatever reason, it doesn't bar the bill from being read again.
I would second with that statement. Yeah, there have been instances throughout Senate where we have passed bills without the authors being here on 2nd reading. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Cool. And with that, we will move into 30 minutes of discussion and debate.
Point of order, we do conference committee reports and then we do.
We'll move into conference committee reports first. Chair Truck.
Okay. For University Affairs Committee reviewed Bill 5212, which this was a while ago. The committee added all the SDPS directors, associate vice president for the Office of Inclusive Excellence, chair of the Ethnic Studies Department, and the Jewish faculty advisor to the individuals forwarded. Can you confirm that with me really quick? Parliament.
It's not highlighted, but that change was reflection.
Okay, awesome. Additionally, we added a whereas clause that reads, quote, according to Jewish Voices for Peace, and if you can scroll up to that really quick, right there. Quote, according to Jewish Voice for Peace, definitions of anti-Semitism that treat criticism of Israel or of Zionism, is that how you say that? Okay, beautiful. As inherently anti-Semitic are inaccurate and harmful. This is certainly true. Criticism of Israel or Zionism is not inherently anti-Semitic, but sometimes it is. More radical expressions of anti-Zionism can be motivated by anti-Semitism and can perpetuate anti-Semitic stereotypes. It may also create a climate in which anti-Semitism becomes more acceptable. With that, we also added an end quote. With that, we also updated the citation list. So for some of them, there are citations. I don't know if is that not on this preset document? It is not. Okay, that's okay. So that the citation numbers don't mean anything, I know, which is okay. University Affairs Committee discharged with unanimous consent.
Who else did this go to? DEI, I believe.
Yeah, you're up next. Do you have your edits?
If I'm being completely honest, I do not remember then when this bill first came through our committee and we're trying to scrimmage through notes of trying to find when it was. Does anyone have a date for that? So we can at least try to figure out when.
Let me find it.
Because if I'm being completely honest, I do not remember any edits that we made to this bill.
Chair Aslan, do you have your edits?
I do. We didn't have a whole lot, so buckle in, y'all, for one thing. We made we acknowledged in a whereas clause, I believe, about harm that was created towards the Jewish community, specifically with anti-Semitic statements in the 52nd Senate. And that was it. So I hope Vice Chair Ayala has their edits. Thank you, Ayu.
Vice Chair Ayala.
Bless our beautiful secretary. I could not be living without her. Okay, so we changed mostly, I think word choices or grammatical errors in a sense. So we changed, I don't know where, but we changed will happen to may happen in a sense, like not to attack or no, this is the wrong bill. I'm thinking about something else. Anyway, will happen to may happen. Motion to add that into a therefore clause, I guess mostly just grammatical, and endorsed this with unanimous consent. Thank you.
Perfect. That was all the committee chairs that listened to, correct? Perfect. Now with that, we will move into, yes, Chair Doyle. Oh, sorry, Senator Doyle.
I motion the previous question.
Second.
Okay, is there any? No,
Just use it. Oh.
yeah, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say nay. Okay, we will, yes, Senator Doyle.
I motion for unanimous consent.
The motion has been made for unanimous consent. Is there any dissent? Seeing none, this piece of legislation passes. Alrighty, folks, buckle in for this one. The next one we have are the Constitutional Caucus amendments. We'll start out with whichever chair is willing to go first.
Because we sent this to all committees at the very beginning and we did committee reports during second reading, we don't need to do committee reports for this one. Unless another committee has touched it since then, which I don't think they have. So silly. So yeah, we don't need to worry about committee reports because we did that last time.
Sweet. Do we need to worry about discussion and debate?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Chair Doyle. Sorry.
I exercise the
Senator Doyle.
author's rights to remove the 11th therefore clause from the bill.
Okay. Which one is that specifically, so we can make sure we have the right one?
It's this one.
Section 802.
That is the correct section. Just delete that.
Perfect. If y'all want to know the reasoning for that, it's because in the RSO handbook, and we are a registered student organization, it does say that officers have to have a 2.25. So to keep things coherent across the board, I'm assuming that was Senator Doyle's justification for that, not that he has to prove anything to anyone, but okay. With that, we'll still enter a period of 30 minutes of discussion and debate, starting with the first raised placard. Yes, Senator Kelly.
Motion previous question.
Perfect. The motion has been made to previous question. Oh, there was a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say nay.
Someone Zoom. I think it's Senator Dixon.
Sorry, I said aye. I was late. I didn't have my hand on the mouse. Sorry.
Yeah, you're all good. The ayes have it, so we will move into a voting period.
I would like to make the motion for unanimous consent.
Motion has, well, the motion has been made by Nick, but there was dissent. Is there any other method of voting that the author would recommend to use for their own piece of legislation? Yes, Senator Doyle.
I motion for voice vote.
Okay, the motion has been made for the voice vote. No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say nay. Okay, perfect. To pass this piece of legislation, as is the way it is today, please say aye.
Aye.
To vote in the negative of this piece of legislation today, please say nay. Okay, the ayes have it, and this piece of legislation passes. I believe that was our last piece of old business. So now we're just moving into new business with Senator Abdulrabi. Do you happen to have a word of your bill? Yes, that you would be able to send to parliamentarian clerk very quickly.
We could probably use the PDF version of the bill, but if you could send me the docs version of it as soon as you can, that would be greatly appreciated. Thanks.
And I motion for the PDF version to be used during this initial reading to just speed up the proceeding of everything.
A motion isn't necessarily needed, Senator Dinson. I think we can use the PDF version just fine.
Fantastic.
Perfect. Will the author like to come up to present their bill? And will the parliamentarian please read the abstract in full?
Okay, this is Bill 5218, interview attire wardrobe. Abstract, this bill asks for $20,000 to provide professional attire to students for interviews, career fairs, job searches, internships, or field work. It seeks to relieve the barriers for students who are not able to purchase professional clothing and experience attire inequities.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Reham, and I'm the senator for the Asian Pacific American Cultural Center, and I issue your phone.
Hey everyone, my name's Joe. I am a senator or an associate senator for the College of Liberal Arts, and I use he, him pronouns.
So just an overview kind of the bill. So we both work at the Career Center, and when the career fair happened, we realized like throughout like my time there, I've been there for like a year and a half, that a lot of students have like problems with getting like interview attire clothing, and it's like created a big barrier. And also like when we got statistics back from like Handshake, which is what we use from employers, it showed that like CSU students are some of like the most prepared on campus, but they also are not like the best dressed, which shouldn't be a problem for students just because they can't like control those kinds of things, whether it's like financial inequities or it could be like they can't get to a certain destination to get clothing. Yeah.
So we made this bill because essentially the Career Center kind of already has a fund for this, but it is very inefficient and just kind of bad. How it works is you have to apply for it and then you get and then you don't get approved for like 6 to 8 weeks. You have to prove that you need the clothes. And then what happens is when you do it, they give you like a $250 gift card to some place where you can get professional attire. The thing is that that $250 comes out of the current financial aid that they already have. So they're not getting that $250 new or anything. It's just coming out of the current aid they have.
Yeah, and then so when we talked to people at the Career Center and stuff, they told us that like they've tried to do things like this in the past, and they had like a whole entire scheme for all of this before COVID, but COVID hit and then they didn't have like enough funding, so they couldn't really do this for students in like an efficient way. And they have like already like contracts and stuff with like for example like places for tailoring, because some things we are going to be getting from like thrift stores. They have like contracts and stuff in place that like if this bill passes, we could also get donations. And for students, since we're thrifting stuff, it might not fit. So we might get like they got like something with like this like dry cleaning place and tailoring. It's on campus. It's near campus, not on campus. It's like a voucher for students for like 50% off to assist them. And then we're also planning on getting like more men's technically clothing. just because it's better for like plus size, and we figured out for students, it just like, it's better. We're good to open up questions.
Creating how long the Q&A period is. I also think it's 30. Yeah. So we're gonna open up a period of Q&A for 30 minutes, starting with the first raised placard. Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hi. So, and I have, like I asked the Lavender bill before, it's like any bill with a bunch of $20,000 or bunch of zeros, these are student fees.
Yeah.
Have you tried looking at other resources to get this money?
Definitely. So kind of like we already said, we did look at like what the Career Center currently has, which is inefficient. And then like with the programs they had in the past, they didn't have efficient funding. And this was like the only like option that we found for it to be used. Yeah.
Do you have a line item list? $20,000 is a lot of money. Do you have a, yes, you do. Awesome.
Yes, there she is.
Okay. In the past, have you came and asked for us for money before, and how much was it?
I have not. This is my first time.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. I yield.
Happy International Women's Day. That just felt good. Chair Trout.
Looks like. So for the $20,000, I'm assuming once it's done, you know, that's gone and sort of thing. Does the Career Center know like future avenues for this funding? Because obviously I don't want this to be, you know, once it's gone sort of thing. I think it will like get into a lot for a lot of folks. And that need will be seen continued. So do you have any plans for where that funding would come from to, you know, resupply this as it needs?
So, yeah, this bill is kind of an experiment in terms of we want to see how popular it is, if it works. You know, if we do this and then no one utilizes the resources, then we probably won't try to do it again. But if it is a success, we'll probably go through ASCSU again to try to make this a recurring bill, and also we'll try to go through the proper avenues to see if the Career Center can get proper funding for that resource, so that we don't have to constantly go through ASCSU.
And then if this bill does eventually pass, I use if because, you know, allegedly, if this bill does pass, is there any knowledge on how the Career Center will be promoting it? Will it be reaching out to other departments, promoting it that way, social media, that sort of thing? Do you know roughly what that promotion will look like?
Yeah, definitely. So we kind of loop this into the career fair just so it'd be easy for us, because we do a lot of like marketing and that kind of stuff for that already. And so it is going to be marketed with the career fair, which a lot of students go to. So I definitely think that it'll help them in that way. And it'll be down at the Career Center, so it's accessible. Everyone's in that list all the time as well. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm excited to see this in committee. I yield.
Are there any further questions? Senator? Yeah, Senator Johnson.
Hi. I guess I was just kind of curious. It's, I guess, slightly related to the bill, but is there an avenue? I don't know much about the Career Center. Is there also an avenue too for people that would like to donate used dress clothes to this as well? May have just missed that part of the bill if you'd read it.
Yeah, so that is also going to be something else for, I think, for frats and stuff like that. I want to talk about this, Joe. You're a frat boy. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, there are avenues that we are gonna have people go through for donations. I'm gonna talk to Fraternity Sorority Life, see if they'll help. We've also been in contact with some other organizations. Here's a list: the Alumni Center, the Staff Junior League of Women, and the Philanthropic Women of CSU, and also Sam Moran. She's the one who did this before in like 2019, before all the COVID stuff happened. And she was able to actually get 250 suits donated to that cause when they were trying to do it. So we're definitely going to use her resources that she said we could use to try to get proper donations.
And from any student as well. From any student as well too.
I yield my time.
Senator Kelly.
Is there anyone else in the speakers list?
Yes, there is Senator Lowe.
Okay, then I motion to exhaust the speakers list.
The motion has been made to exhaust the speakers list. Is there a second?
Seconded.
I'd like to include myself on the speakers list.
Vincent.
Sorry, thank you.
I'd like to include myself also.
The motion has been made to exhaust the speakers list. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, we have exhausted the speakers list. Did you have anything to say?
No, I yield my time.
Okay, Senator Lowe.
Would y'all be open to trying to look for avenues to also get like adaptable, accessible professional clothing? Like an example I have is that like, for example, like I use a wheelchair. In wheelchairs, you have like, it's really difficult to find professional pants that fit weird, like fit without looking weird. And so there's also a really big cost barrier with adaptive formal clothing. Is that something y'all would be interested, like willing to look into as well?
Definitely. We know that like these like interview attire clothing specifically, like they cause a lot of like inequities for people of like different sizes or like kind of like what you said. So we are definitely going to be looking into that just so we can help students as much as possible, because I do understand that like students maybe from like these populations are in need more just because it's harder to get. But yeah, definitely will be. I'll be letting you know.
Senator Denson.
Awesome. Yeah. Hi. Have you guys worked at the College of Business at all? Because I know the College of Business technically has their own career management center. And we do have our own fund, although I know it's a similar pain to try and access it as well. Or maybe it is the same fund as just the general through the career management center. I'm not 100% on that. Have you guys worked at the career management center to sort of see what sort of clothing and what people actually need?
So yeah, it is the same fund that is like used with like even the like, Engineering Success Center as well. And we have someone like a liaison that kind of works between both offices, and we would definitely be willing to work with them.
That's yeah, because they'll know the best methods for the different tools that I need for interviews and the different bare minimums that they need for career success. But yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Finish this off, Senator Sodi.
Could I be put on the endorsement list?
That's gonna have to be done after, because what we have right now is the PowerPoint presentation. But when you go to committee, let them know to add your name to the endorsement list.
Thank you. Are you?
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you all. I believe we're done. Just with legislation. Just with legislation.
What committees will this be?
Yeah. What it's like, university, budgetary. I don't think it would have to be sent to DEI. I mean, it could be sent to DEI, but I know that you already have a lot on your plate.
I don't think we actually have much. I wouldn't mind running the committee through running the bill through the committee, just giving other people a look on it, because we do have exec members and they like to talk some. So I wouldn't mind this coming through the committee, but up to your discretion. Sure.
Yeah, sick. So it'll go to DEI, university, and budgetary. Ooh. There we go. Okay. Moving into.
Was that one bill taken up?
Yes, it was.
So. Not this one, right?
Yeah, so that one got postponed. So now we're gonna go into ending roll call. As you can see, a lot of your peers are gone. I would highly encourage you to go through ending roll call. The clerk will call the roll. Speaker DeSalvo.
Still here.
Speaker Pro Tempore Caicedo Perez, present. Officer Bukhari.
Parliamentarian Clark,
Present.
Chair Oslam. Here. Chair Ritter.
Here.
Chair Salazar. Chair Schumer. Chair Trout.
Chair Schumer is online. She hasn't spoken much. She is here. She was here for the last bill, so.
And Chair Trout is here.
Senator Abu Dhabi.
Present.
Senator Arango Siwa.
Present.
Senator AP. Still here. Senator Ayala.
Here.
Senator Bouchard.
Here.
Senator Dietz. Senator Denson.
Here.
Senator Doyle. Senator Gottschall. Senator Hill.
Present.
Senator Johnson. Here. I'm sorry, Senator Johnson Cole.
Present.
Senator Johnson McAllister.
Here.
Senator Kelly.
I'm also still here.
Senator Kilburn. Senator Kramer.
Here.
Senator Lackey. Senator Lackey. Senator Levy. Senator Lowe.
Still here.
Senator Lutz.
Here.
Senator McCall. Senator Melchior. Senator Melka.
I'm still here.
Senator Morgan. Senator Nyambe. Senator Pareso. Here. Senator Reed. Here. Senator Reese.
Still here.
Senator Sanchez.
Was excused.
Senator Schmidt.
Here.
Senator Shetty. Senator Zodi.
Still here.
Senator Taylor.
Here.
Senator Winston. Senator Wright.
Present.
Senator Barron. Senator Barbone. Senator. Senator Burney. Senator Ford. Senator Jacobs.
Sorry, I'm here.
Senator Kelly. Senator Kimberly. Senator Manati.
Hanging in there.
Senator Birch. Senator Scott Perez.
I'm still standing.
Senator, I'm sorry, not Senator. I haven't saying it this whole time. Associate Senator Simpson.
Bonsoir.
Associate Horace Doxey.
Sup.
Senator Zhao. Associate Benson. I'm also so sorry I said senator that whole time.
Don't be accepted.
Alrighty, we have concluded ending roll call. We've had a long night filled with a lot of emotions.
Madam Speaker, you do have the authority to adjourn.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Have a wonderful night. Have an amazing spring break. Put your, the Slack will be open for 30 minutes. Post your reports on there.
Go around on IFTAR, March 24th, 6:30.
You heard that from me and not Ben Torosakis. No, you heard from me. Collab.
Also,
I'm
not a senator.
Still here.
I'm not a senator. I'm
Oh,
an
you-
associate senator.
Oh, my apologies. It's always so.
Did you like it? I did. Would you like to keep
I
it?
get that.
I have more. You can keep it.
Chair Schumer, we have you on the attendance. You're all good to go. Hopefully you got that message.